Once mics work,
Yeah, we can go ahead and turn them on.
gonna do a quick mic check while we're setting up.
We're ready.
Yeah.
This one,
See, that's why we do it. We do a check. Lev, we need some tech support.
Oh, wait a minute. I know the problem.
There's nothing connected to me.
What happened down here? Oh, yeah, they did connect. No, we're missing one. No, we just need to connect these.
These two?
Yeah, these two.
Hopefully I get.
Oh, actually, the other side.
Yeah. Come on, I know, JV. And now try.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
All right.
Oh, good.
Wonderful. Tell me when we're ready. Ready to go. All right, good afternoon. We will call this meeting of the City Plan Commission to order. Today is Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. It is 4:46 p.m. Let's start off with a roll call, starting with Noel.
Noel Sanchez.
Rachel Dotson, Charlotte Lipshed, Sid McKenna. Karen Garner, legal counsel.
Bob Azar, staff. Young Manager, DPD staff.
And I'm Michael Gazdaco, Chair. We have the minutes from the September 16th, 2025 meeting have been circulated prior to this meeting. Hopefully you all have had a chance to review them. Right now we'll take edits, suggestions, or if none, a motion for approval of the minutes as drafted.
Item number 6, I recused myself, but it's not noted.
What was the?
That was
That
the
was,
885
squat.
Westminster, no, the other one,
Oh,
at the end of the
All right,
meeting, the
I'll note
last
that.
one.
All right, yep, I'll know that.
Okay.
all right.
I'll update.
We will. With that, anyone else have any other comments or a motion to approve?
Yeah.
As modified?
I'll make a motion to approve as modified.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor of approving as modified, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes pass. Off to you, Bob, Director's report.
Okay, as you see on the agenda tonight, we have we have a proposed ordinance for design standards, and this is the first item that is what we call phase 2 of the zoning changes following adoption of the comprehensive plan. You can look forward to additional proposals in the coming months. We're working on some changes related to amendments to state law that happened. We've got to update our development review regulations based on state law. We have potentially some language for updates on student housing. So there's a bunch of different things that we're working on in parallel. So just be ready for that to come your way.
Sounds good. We are ready for all of those exciting updates. Now, we will start with our agenda at this time, but there's been a request to hear the agenda item number 2 first and agenda item number 1 second. So we are going to start with agenda item number 2, which is case number 25-060 MA. It's 434 Mount Pleasant Ave. The applicant is the City of Providence, and this is a major land development project.
Okay, and as the development team make their way up to the mic, Choyan, can you give a brief introduction for this?
Sure. Commissioners, this is a request to combine master and preliminary plan approval for the construction of the southern wing of the Mount Pleasant High School. So the southern wing of the building will be demolished and, all right, thank you. So the southern wing of the building will be demolished and the applicant will, in its place, will be creating an addition that will be set a little bit back from the front of the building. In that addition, they will be providing an auditorium with classroom space as well as a gymnasium that will connect to the central portion of the building. So this amounts to approximately 41,700 square feet of new space. And there, as we said, they are requesting to combine master and preliminary plan approval and also requesting a waiver from submission of state approvals at the preliminary plan stage. And with their presentation, they also will be talking about the design of the building, traffic, landscaping, and other things that you typically hear about during the land development presentation.
Question to the team. Are you, do you plan to project your own images onto the screen, or would you like me to bring up the presentation that you submitted? Okay.
And one other note, to make sure, the microphone is on and everyone who is speaking speaks into it. We're not only, talking to everyone in this room, we're talking in the virtual room, on the interwebs as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Christopher Menahan with West Group Law. We're here tonight, on behalf of the city of Providence for, a major, LDP for the Mount Pleasant High School. So as you'll see, the school is now referred to, as, MPECA, so Mount Pleasant Early College and Career Academy. So this is Mount Pleasant High School at 434 Mount Pleasant Ave. The site is zoned public space. So this is a by right project of a public school within that zone. And as will be shown and discussed, this is a partial demo and a partial rebuild. So the existing south wing will be taken down and a new 4-story wing will go up in its place. And there will be a lot of changes to the rest of the building, both interior and exterior. So tonight, as was mentioned, the city is seeking to combine the master plan and the prelim plan stages and to have both approved, and also seeking a waiver of certain state approvals and city approvals. So specifically DPW, RIDEM, Narragansett Bay Commission, and CRMC. And so those will be delivered at the permitting stage. And then lastly, that final plan be delegated to staff. So I'm joined tonight by Joseph DeSanti of Downs Construction, and Robert Santos of Perkins Eastman on architecture, Matthew Collins of PAR on engineering, and Julie Allen of Agostini Bacon Construction. And with that, I'll turn it over to the team.
Just one point of clarification before you proceed. Is the request to delay submission of state approvals until the final plan or till permitting? Because in my staff report, it talks about final plan. And that's our normal course of business.
So if that's the normal course of business, we aren't sure exactly how long they could take. So I believe in the past, we've been able to submit them, at the very sort of last end of the final stage, if that's all right.
Okay, so with final plan as drafted in the report?
Right, yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Good afternoon, Joe DeSanti with Downs Construction. Before I hand it over to the design team, just want to let you know that we do have representatives from PPSD as well as the city if any questions arise.
Hi, I'm Rob Santos with Perkins Eastman Architects. It's our pleasure to present our design to you today. We're looking at a image of the proposed site plan right now. And I'll take this moment to just walk through the overall idea behind this proposal. So should I? Okay. Sorry, can you still hear me with this? Okay, thank you. So this outline, this dark outline you're seeing here is the outline of the existing building that is proposed to remain. And this area right over here is the proposed area of the new build. This light outline over here is the outline of the south wing of the building. South is to the left in this drawing. That's to be demolished. And the reason why we're stepping back over here for us, this new wing, is because we were going to phase the project such that the students remain in situ while the project is underway. So we have swing spaces that are being built in the back of the building. Students have space that they can move around to, and we will be protecting those spaces during construction. And Julie Allen from Agostini could speak to that a little later. But the idea is that when this building is finally removed, this south wing is finally removed, we'll have a large public plaza in front of the building. And the building that replaces the wing that was removed will be slightly shorter and set back farther from the street. So further increasing the sight lines to the site behind. Currently, traffic patterns are merged around the building. So in the front, there's a small parking area with circulation going through it. And in the rear, there are parking areas with circulation for buses that go through it. So Matt from PAR will discuss a little bit about the traffic improvements that we're proposing here. But the idea is that we're making the site much safer for pedestrians and for students as they go around the site. We're also minimally impacting the site around the building, so that the limits of disturbance will be as shown here. And the softball fields, existing new soccer field, tennis courts, baseball field, football field, and practice fields will all remain undisturbed during the process. I think we can move on to civil and landscape.
Thank you, Rob. My name is Matthew Collins. I am a professional engineer with Power Corporation. We designed these civil plans that you are looking at right now. Rob focused on the building. I can focus more on the exterior, and I can start with the traffic flow. The existing conditions, there's two ingresses and two egresses. It was one way basically from here around the building, and a one way in the front loop designated for drop-offs and staff parking. Part of the existing conditions traffic report was that there was a lot of congestion within Mount Pleasant, particularly during the parent drop-off and pickup hours. So a main focus of the design was to provide more interior drop-off for the parents' drop-off. As you can see right here, this is specifically designated as a drop-off and pickup area. It is a one-way, similar to how it was in the existing condition, with this way going for the drop-off, and then there's also additional parking area right in the front. The purpose is to have all the flow travel through here, and just to provide a relief from the Mount Pleasant Avenue area during parking. Also, during the existing, there's a one-way 12-foot wide access around the building. We have extended that out to provide, it is still a one-way, but we have now 2 lanes that will be able to make it through. There's a staff parking lot in the exterior, in the rear area here, and also the bus circulation. As you can see, these little hashed lines for bus drop-off. As you continue around the one-way, you make it down to, and here, this is where the one-way ends. There are 2 lanes here, but it's a 2-way traffic in the northern portion. That's to allow this parking area in the back here to allow in and out without having to circle all the way through to avoid any staff or students within the bus area, to delineate those 2 areas. Let's put it from traffic. From a drainage perspective, we were not considered a redevelopment, so we held on to the RIDEM. We had to meet the 11 standards. We have submitted our plans and package to RIDEM. When we submitted, we were still in the process going back and forward with RIDEM. Since then, on October 2nd, we actually got approval from RIDEM, so we checked that box. From drainage, the existing condition is generally all runoff is making its way east down to Mount Pleasant Avenue. So we tried to keep the same pattern with that, collecting through underground systems from catch basins, manholes. We also have a surface infiltration basin back here. Its main priority is to capture and infiltrate and treat the water quality storm. And then also for peak rates, we made sure with outlet control structures to reduce the peak rates of runoff in the pre and the post conditions. That is for this back area. It will outlet and make its way through the existing system to make it to the Mount Pleasant Avenue to, like I mentioned before, try to keep the same drainage patterns in the existing and proposed. You can't see them on this plan, but we are also, there are two underground concrete infiltration systems, one here and one here. The increase in impervious area, there's just that small little parking area in here. We wanted to make sure that we are collecting, treating, and infiltrating and then outletting in a controlled manner all of the front runoff through the collection of catch basins and the system, a water quality unit, the infiltration system, and then outlet into Mount Pleasant Avenue. In terms of the other state agency that we're working with, Narragansett Bay Commission, we sent them our package in late August. The main focus, it's for a non-residential sewer connection permit. For this area, due to all the congestion with the utilities in this area, we found that the best place for the sewer line to actually connect into Mount Pleasant Avenue is actually further down gradient from the slope on Mount Pleasant Avenue. So we are proposing to catch the sewer lines as they exit the building and keep them away from all the drainage, keeps your sewer and drain separate, and have them connect into Mount Pleasant further down to the south. We've been going back and forth with Narragansett Bay Commission. I was speaking with them last week, and the only thing they needed from us was a waterproof for the existing meter that's within the building. We worked with Providence Water to obtain that water proof that we sent over to Narragansett Bay Commission. So I believe that's the last item that they needed. So I'm waiting to hear back, hopefully this week, maybe next week, to tie that end up as well. From a design aspect.
Could we advance to the architectural drawings, please? One of the things that we're also providing on site is sufficient bicycle parking per zone regulations for the number of classrooms you're providing. I believe it's 145, if I'm somewhere around that number, and about 125 or 128 parking spaces for automobiles. Yeah, we can just go a few prior to this.
Do you want this or do you want the renderings?
We can look at the plans if you'd like to talk about the interior of the building, or we could just go right to the renderings if you'd like.
Your choice.
Let's go to 101 here, CPC 101. Thank you. All right, this is the ground floor, proposed ground floor plan. You see here the existing auditorium space and vestibule space as the approach. This is one of the areas inside the building that is of prime importance and concern to the community, as far as I understand. And we were asked really to try to do our best to preserve this space, so we have. There's a tremendous amount of scroll work on the ceiling, lighting that's very specialized and of the era of the 1930s when this building was built, that we'll be preserving and enhancing new electrics, et cetera. The entire building, which right now is not sprinklered, we're putting in fire sprinklers. Fire safety is paramount, of course, now with the building codes. This side of the building over here is currently the cafeteria. We're proposing using the space here in the new structure, in the first floor of the new structure, as the cafeteria commons. And what that means for us is that as you come in from the front or coming from the back, your bus entry will be here, your car drop off will be here. All students will arrive in this new central space, creating a new heart of the school, which is something that's very looked on very favorably in a modern school design, 21st century school design. Around this space, we are providing numerous CTE spaces because the school has a very strong connection with Rhode Island College. So their students actually work with professors at Rhode Island College to come in, they do exchanges. And the idea is that when these students are engaging with these advanced professors, they'll be able to leave the school when they're done and be part of the community in a more effective and more economically beneficial way for them. So right here in the heart of the school, you have these CTE maker spaces, robotics, all coming in, advanced manufacturing, all coming into the same energized central zone. Over here, we have some locker rooms, some phys ed spaces, which are new. And then over here, where there was currently what was called a girls' gym in the old days, this is a new music suite. We have a choral room, a band room, practice rooms, podcasting, instrument storage, all related to the stage, of course. So you have this really a perfect space for the music program in the building because it separates from the classrooms that are occupied by students that are, trying to study. They can do everything they need to do back here, and they can be isolated acoustically and have lovely new spaces for themselves. Here we have college counseling, guidance, some special ed spaces, a new main office, which is no longer going to be on the second floor. It'll be moved down to the first floor where it has access to the front entrances. And a nurse's suite and a smart clinic combined over here. So that's basically the first floor. I think, talked about the bicycles. Yeah, we can go up to the next plan if you don't mind. Again, coming here to this side, starting on the left, the old gym remains. The old gym has been upgraded rather recently, but one of the main shortcomings of this gym that has a very high occupancy is that entry to the gym is by one door on the second floor today. Now what we're doing is we're allowing people to come in and circulate up to the gym through a large, generous lobby and stair that has a double height connection to the floor below. This becomes a much more a safer and much more usable space for the public to access athletic events. Here at this double height space in the center of the cafeteria commons, we are adjacent to the new media center, which is almost 3 times the size of the current library and fills this space here, testing spaces back here, individual study rooms, and another maker space on that side. Bridge brings you across to the existing corridor where we have proposed the freshman academy. So this would be your 9th graders in this zone. And there's a new science lab here, and we can keep going up. And here we start having the stacked effect over here in the new wing where we have 6 classrooms stacked on top of one another. So we have 2 floors of 6 classrooms. And these classrooms are a little different from the old classrooms because we're able to right size them, providing a room that's like more in line with what RIDE demands in their requirements for their spaces. So, the existing classrooms are all going to be renovated to 21st century standards. Again, that means new ceilings, lights, HVAC, air conditioning, sprinklers, smart boards, everything that you might imagine in a new school would be right here. And what we're doing on the outside of the building is actually kind of interesting because this is an old masonry structure. What we can do is we can take down the exterior wall, the plaster on the outside, and use closed cell spray foam, which we've done extensive analysis on how that works. So there's no fear of mold or degradation to the brick once the spray foam is applied. And run that along the interior face of this existing masonry wall. And what that does at the end of the day is that, and combined with the new HVAC systems, is we're improving over CHIPS ASHRAE 90.1 2013 standards by 57% in terms of energy usage. So we're really looking to get the most performance we can out of this beautiful old building. And, I mentioned beautiful building, but that's very important also, right? This building is part of the landscape here on Mount Pleasant Avenue. And we're very happy to be able to preserve the exterior. You'll see that in the exterior elevations in a moment. Can we keep going? And this is currently the science lab wing was renovated 15 years ago. We're maintaining most of that. because it's so new and because it conforms to current, standards for, the pedagogy here. So most of that's staying, new. The library space is now art space over here. And then we have the wing over here again, the new wing. This is a mechanical floor and roof. Okay, so here you're looking at a split elevation of the proposed new facade. This is the existing main tower with that lovely spire. It's collegiate Gothic style. It's a marvelous structure, and the brick is actually in wonderful shape. Some pointing and repair of the limestone, and we're back, good as new. The windows we're proposing are double glazed. You notice that each one of these windows is triple stacked, basically. You have 3 panes of glass in each window. Today, those are 2 panes of glass and 1 transom panel, which is blocked. We're proposing putting back 3 panes of glass, so much more light for the students inside. Repairing the masonry at the north side, which is pretty badly damaged right now. And around the back of the building, of course, around the entire exterior. The areas where we're removing the old building will have brick to match. So we found a nice blend of brick, which we believe is very, very close to the existing. We're also matching the coursing of the bricks, so you'll have headers that are the right color, stretchers that are the right color. Here and on this face over here, which is on a later drawing, this wall will be curtain wall. There'll be some brick at the corner here, and a new entry vestibule will be over here with the canopy. We had in some renderings a large MPECA logo over here, but we've removed it. So unfortunately, it's still in the renderings, but it's no longer in the proposed drawings. We move forward. This is the back side of the building. Again, you're seeing more of that work we're calling for all around the building here and at the back of the auditorium. All new windows where there are old windows shown. Keep going. And more of the same here. We have renderings next. So this is a view of the building with the new addition and the old portion removed. We're showing this building right now in white. It is not intended to be white. We haven't yet selected a color, but the idea is that this is the contrast between the brick and this new structure here in the middle. This is the rear view where the buses drop off, front loop, the new plaza, and all the new trees we're adding to the front. The landscaping is kind of sparse right now. We're intending to bring it back. We'll look at the next one. And these are more ground level views. So this is the main entrance, 2 views here. And actually right here is next to the back northwest parking lot, the largest lot. This is currently just a wing that's kind of sticking out. We're adding a community entrance here to the back of the building to allow access to food bank, clothes storage, community space in the lower level here. I think that's it. So,
I believe that's the last slide.
yeah, okay. Well, thanks.
That's a question.
Not at the moment, sir. Okay, that's all we have. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, questions of the applicant, and I'll kick it off. I know there's probably been a long, in-depth process. I guess my question is twofold. Number one, how did you end up landing on the demolition of a portion of the building, not the whole building, keeping the whole building? I'm sure there was a tug and pull there. And then the second question, which probably be answered by someone else, is more what has been the community outreach and engagement thus far?
I can certainly speak to the number of iterations we went through and different.
And maybe just a brief overview of the approval process necessary for a project like this from the state authorities and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. We've been working hand in hand with RIDE for this entire process, working with Downs. working with the city of Providence, working with the councilwoman and, presenting in her monthly meetings. So I think we did 9 official, different iterations of this particular building, including multiple wings, complete demolition, renovation without any additional, construction. Different variations of this particular, what we call a hybrid model. When we looked at the building, one of the most compelling things is when we looked at the building that we found that the south wing had an unusual floor arrangement. So the first floor actually steps down in a way that would have made reusing it and connecting to new structures more difficult. The north wing not only did it not have that problem, but it had the fourth floor, which was a recently renovated 15-year-old science wing. So we saw a lot of potential for reuse of the existing structure there, more so than the south wing. I think the opportunity to actually work with the cafeteria too, because the cafeteria was lodged under the gym, and open that up was a real attractive architectural option.
Yes, so good afternoon, Joe DeSanti again with Downs Construction. So a couple things, I think that we did a count yesterday, there's been 35 either community meetings, program meetings, ward meetings. There's been an extensive amount of meetings on this project and many of our projects. This has been a process. Initially, this project was scheduled for demolition and a new build. But we did listen to the community, and we came up with this plan. And as Rob had said, that there was at least 9 versions of this. We all landed on this was the best plan for the children and the students and long-term for Mount Pleasant. We also landed on the part of the building that was deteriorated the most, and probably was going to need the most work and had accessibility issues. I could talk a little bit about the approval process. This is a RIDE-funded project, so we get reimbursed up to 91% on this project. So they've been a very good partner in this. They've worked with us to change it from a new build to what we call the hybrid model. We've gone through schematic design documents with the group, and design development is being submitted right now. We've done some early bid packages, but they have been working along us throughout the entire process.
I guess just to follow up with that, I assume there's a deadline looming somewhere in the near future for funding, for the start of construction, et cetera. Is there a time frame that you anticipate this project being kicked off at, should you have approval tonight?
Yeah, the process, project needs to get started immediately. We have a June 2027 deadline. It's part of that reimbursement. It's a memorandum of agreement that we get with each school construction project that's tied to the reimbursement. So that is June of 2027, and the timeline is very tight right now. I know the construction team is ready. They have been in the process of procuring the material. They've started the swing space within the school already. So it is very time sensitive right now.
Okay, thank you. Other commissioners?
I have a question about the design, and I hate to even ask it, but it's the times that we're living in, unfortunately. What consideration was given to evacuation or an event of a school shoot, what, I hate to even say the word, but when you were in your design process, can you speak to that a little bit in terms of the flow from one school to the next and how that would work?
Yeah, absolutely. The building actually is all one building. It's not separated into sub-zones. It's all type 1B construction. I don't know if it's fireproof, 2-hour rated, so it's a very robust structure. We are providing in our documents for security film on all the lower floor glass. So that means that it cannot be broken without tremendous effort. It's a very resilient product. That allows for, it's called school guard, as a matter of fact. Of course, controlling entry is also incredibly important. So we have the bus entry and the drop-off entry at the cafeteria commons, but during the day, because that main office has been moved down to the first floor, we have a security vestibule to allow any late entrance into the building. In addition, PPSD is very, very conscious of security, and they have really high-end systems. I don't know if you've ever seen these in action. I was stunned when I saw them myself. But they could track a person coming on campus, walking around, with their facial recognition, and it's really amazing. So we're working with them to put on camera locations, door locks, all those things that are controllable and activatable through their building management system.
Other commissioners, Rachel, Noel, Charlotte?
I'm curious, what materials you're considering for that, portion that's currently shown in white. Do you have any, further insight on that, or is it really just unknown at this
No,
point?
no, thank you. It is known, we're asking for, metal panel, rain screen metal panel at most of the white area you saw. And then where there's curtain wall glass, it's basically a curtain wall system, which is a, floor to ceiling, glazed, wall. So, we hope that it'll blend nicely with the old architecture in a way, it'll set it off, but it'll be, not trying to pretend where it isn't,
Charlotte covered my question. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to make a statement as a parent of a child in the special education department in this building. I'm very familiar with the interior, temperature swings, conditions, all of that, and I just could not be more thrilled with the plans.
So this sounds like a welcome change.
This is, yeah.
Anything,
Just wanted to know, if there's a developed landscaping plan. You mentioned that there's gonna be more trees added to the front and things.
Yeah, I believe it's part of the package.
Noel, it's in your package.
In here.
yeah, there's quite a few pages of the landscape.
I didn't.
I believe we also have tree species noted, and we've reached out to the arborist, I believe it is.
City forester.
The city forester, yeah.
Yeah, they have notes on trees to be preserved, trees that won't make it, and then future plantings as well.
Actually, I have one follow-up to Rachel's comment, which is just, you spoke to the sort of, treatment of the interior side of the brick and how that's gonna work with energy performance. In terms of the curtain wall sections of the building, and I guess even, around the back side, can you just speak a little bit to how you're thinking about shading and various sun angles and, where you want light to come in versus not?
Absolutely. One of the things we do at the beginning of design process is we basically do a sun model, and then we do shadows and light and see what the glare issues are in the different areas. So we have proposed sun fins at the curtain wall, which I believe we're still in the project. So we're doing well there. And the new portion of the building is going to be up to the latest energy code, which, as you know, is very advanced here in Rhode Island, the 2024 IECC. And we're doing better than that. Chips requirements are exceeding 57%. It's looking like for a building of this age, it's going to be a very well performing building.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then with that, we'll hear the staff report and then we'll go to public comment.
Well, thanks, Mr. Chair. And so the applicant did speak about the dimensions and site design, and we should say that the height of the addition is within the 50-foot height limit of the PS public space zone. As far as parking goes, they need 48 parking spaces to meet the requirement of 1 vehicle space for 3 employees. And they will be providing a total of 128 space, and they did talk to you about how that parking and traffic management configuration would work. There was a question about landscaping. The landscaping plan is included in your package. They're required to provide approximately 40,000 square feet, but they will be providing close to 49,000 square feet with 49 large trees planted around the campus. They have submitted a soil erosion and sediment control plan as well as a drainage plan. In addition to that, they are asking from waivers from submission of state approvals. And just based on our review of that request, we do feel that it would be appropriate to grant those waivers, finding that to be in the interest of good planning practice, given that the time that it takes state bodies to act can vary. And also, having said that, they have submitted all the items that are required for master and preliminary plan stages. And so based on that, we would recommend that you combine approval of those two stages. And moving on, this is consistent with the comprehensive plan, particularly CS8 of the plan, which encourages development of schools and improvement of the learning environment. Also, this is located in an area that the future land use map intends for public space, open space, and this is the type of development that would be appropriate. This does comply with the zoning ordinance. They also submit a lighting plan that conforms to the ordinance. We don't foresee a negative environmental impact, no physical constraints that impact development of the property, and site access is provided from Mount Pleasant Ave. So based on that, we would recommend that you first grant the waiver from submission of state approvals at the preliminary plan stage, then that you combine master and preliminary plan approval and grant approval of those two stages subject to these conditions, that the applicant and their traffic engineer shall work with the city on implementation of the traffic study, and that the drainage plan be subject to the city engineer's approval.
Okay, thank you, Choyan. With that, oh yeah, you guys, can go back to your normal seats, in case we have anyone who wants to speak on this matter. Thank you very much. We may call you back up after public comment if we have any questions for follow-up.
I'm just noting that I'm here on behalf of Councilman Ryan.
Oh, okay, yes. So we're gonna open up, public comment. We have two letters, that we've received prior to this meeting. And one is from Councilwoman Ryan, who has drafted a very supportive letter, in support of this project, discussing all of the iterations, the communication, the community process. And so that was a letter. She was here earlier, but had to go to a meeting, I'm told, over down the street, as her elected position requires her to be sometimes. And then we received another letter, and maybe it would be good for Bob to just remind us what we're reviewing here, what the criteria are, because most of the information in Mr. Wallace's, I believe it's Mr. Doesn't really pertain to what we're reviewing this evening, as I'm understanding it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this email that we got speaks to the use of taxpayer dollars with respect to demolition and new construction of both the Mount Pleasant High School and the second item that you're going to hear tonight, the school on Westminster Street. So there's discussion about you know, about the spaces, about the media center and the library and things like that. I think what's important for you to understand is that, you know, as with any other land development project that comes in front of you, you have very specific criteria that you use to review projects. These are criteria that are defined by state law. Fundamentally, it's comprehensive plan conformance and zoning conformance. And our staff report lays those out. This project is fully in conformance with the zoning ordinance. It's not in a historic district that would have any regulatory authority over demolition. And with respect to the comprehensive plan, the plan is actually very clear about building new schools. building newer and fewer schools to right size the number of buildings to align with current and future projected enrollment, modernizing, and so forth. So there's a lot of foundation in the comprehensive plan for this, not only these two school projects, but also all of the school projects that have been coming in front of you, and hopefully next month will be the last round of new schools. And I would also remind you that unlike when a private developer comes before you with a development project where you have the final say, it's between essentially you and the developer. There are other layers when it comes to public schools. The Rhode Island Department of Education has say over everything that has to do with this school, and based on the meetings that I've had with the design team, I know that is a rigorous and iterative process that takes a very long time. And you know, we were supposed to see these schools earlier in the year, but I believe because of that process, it's kind of been pushed out. Also, the city council has been involved in approving the issuance of bonds that are necessary for this. So, and on top of that, there has been this public engagement process that is much more rigorous than any that we see for standard development projects. So I just want you to keep that in mind. And Mr. Chair, we do have the letter from Councilwoman Ryan. Brandon, was it your intention to summarize that, or were you just here?
Well, it was my intention part to summarize that at her request.
Okay, so
Then with that, we will open up the public comment portion of this agenda item, and you'll be the first one who goes up. Again, we received the letter all in advance, and hopefully everyone has had a chance to review it, and you can proceed.
And while Brandon is coming up, there are two people on our sign-in sheet, Salvatore Pellerano and Michael English. Are either of the two of you here for this particular item? Your name?
Mike English.
Okay, what about Salvatore Pellerano? Okay, all right, so just Mike English. And then if anybody's online that wants to speak, make sure you raise your virtual hand in Zoom.
Press *9 if you're calling in.
Right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Welch. I am a policy analyst with the City Council staff. If I may, I would just like to read Councilman Ryan's letter into the record. This was her request. Chair Gazdaco, I'm writing to you and to your esteemed colleagues in strong support of the master and preliminary plan approval sought by the Providence Public Building Authority for the expansion of the Mount Pleasant High School campus. Since 1938, Mount Pleasant High School has been vital to Providence, educating students in preparation for their future lives. It is only fitting the city and the Providence Public School District continue that proud legacy. Ground has officially been broken on the Mount Pleasant Early College and Career Academy, a facility that will honor the history of Mount Pleasant High School while preparing students for the futures that our time presents them. The largest single investment in the Providence Public School District, this $110 million transformative project is part of the nearly $1 billion, school modernization plan underway in Providence that comprises one of the most ambitious education investments in city history. The City Council has played a leading role in realizing this plan, approving numerous school construction bonds and reimbursement applications between 2018 and 2025. The council has also approved approximately $80 million in funding through the PPSD Capital Revolving Fund at the September 23rd, 2025 Committee on Finance meeting. In sum, these investments support the commitment by the council to safe, modern schools that support academic achievement and foster community pride. Due to those investments and upon the completion of the new wing in 2027, Mount Pleasant will serve approximately 1,000 students with an innovative new campus that features a new modern wing while preserving the historic structure that has set the campus as the crown jewel of the Mount Pleasant community. The Mount Pleasant expansion realizes the collaboration among the city, PPSD, and the state to deliver extraordinary results for Providence students. The city seeks to boldly approach education in the Mount Pleasant expansion and on other campuses, providing Providence students with modern classrooms that will enable their learning for generations. As the council has emphasized, every decision made during this project is guided by one principle: the delivery of the highest quality learning environments for the students of Providence. It is my sincere hope that with the proposed expansion of Mount Pleasant contained within this plan, PPSD students from my ward and elsewhere in the city will likewise benefit from such an environment. Accordingly, I urge you to issue the master and preliminary plan approvals necessary to continue the legacy of Mount Pleasant High School. Sincerely, Joe and Ryan, Councilman Ward 5.
Thank you very much. All right, the next person we'll call on this agenda item is Michael English.
How are we doing, everybody? I was just told about this situation, came here. I don't have a side yet personally, but at the same time, I do have some questions on the construction part. I didn't see anything that talked about the controlling of dust, and it sounds like you're gonna do the construction while the children are in there. So that would be one of my major issues, is how do you control the dust? I know that you should have a specification. I only saw the plans. The plans were very vague on what we're gonna do. The other thing is there any asbestos, considering the age of the facility? And you said that there's some leveling of floors on the first level. Could there be asbestos as you dig? And what is your plan on removing it, if any?
Okay, so just so you know, the questions are posed to the chair.
Okay, sorry about that.
They're unable to answer your questions right now. We can take them down and they can come back
I
forward.
just figured so they could hear me direct.
Sure,
And
that's absolutely fine.
I didn't think I was gonna get a response, but I do wanna make sure they understood it, because to me, the children at the end of the day are the most concerning part of this deal. I get it, they get a better school. However, if it's best to do it in the summer maybe, or if they do have a plan, then to outline it, because without that being outlined, we've known in the past, dust can do some major damage. And if you are gonna do buildings in Newport, you would actually have to spray it with water continuously as you do the demo. So there are demos. I've been in the construction field for 20 years, so I do know that these things exist. It's not like I'm wondering what
Oh, no,
could
no.
or couldn't be.
So just so that you know, this is the development plan review stage.
I
This
get
is
that.
not where they're filing a building permit.
I get that too, but if you don't talk about it, if you don't see
Oh,
it,
understood,
then
but
you're not gonna ever talk about it.
understood.
So
Thank you very
that's where I'm saying. And then the other thing is that I believe the top floor, he said, doesn't need as much. But if I'm not mistaken, he has to redo all the sprinklers, which again throws the question, what's up on that top floor? Because if it's an old building from the 30s, 40s, 50s, some of the top decks usually have asbestos running around pipes and other things that no one cares about. But when you start tearing things up, it becomes a major issue. So that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in the physical room who wishes to speak on this matter? If not, we will go to the virtual room.
Okay, we have someone named Sam. I'm gonna allow you to talk. If you could identify yourself by your full name, please.
Yep, sorry, I'm at work right now. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So my name is Sam Wallace. I'm at 20 Wood Street in Providence. I submitted some written comments, but just wanted to speak to them here. as a PPSD librarian who's actually in a job fight right now regarding the construction of the media center at Del Sesto Middle School. I have a lot of concerns around the lack of clarity of what the construction, what the plan, what the timeline is, because I went through this myself. I worked at the Del Sesto Library. I was told 2 days before my collection was going to be boxed, but instead the entire room was leveled. Furniture was destroyed. I had no place to put students or the collection. I had to figure that out myself. The construction took over a full year. I was never told a timeline. I wasn't told what the space would look like. I wasn't asked for my input. And when the building was reopened, I was told I would have to shelve all the books myself. So I have a lot of concerns around the use of media center. It is not reflective of the American Library Association standards in terms of what we need to put in front of high school students, especially in an age of misinformation and AI. Like, our libraries are really the front lines of preparing our high schoolers to become young adults in today's landscape. And I know that many teachers are not able to speak to this issue because there is fear of retaliation. But teachers are very concerned. Teachers feel confused about the construction timeline and the community input itself. If people cannot speak honestly about the community input, or if they fear for their jobs, then this is not a true community plan and it's not focused on our student learning. I think, speaking to the person's comments prior, that if we need to make sure that our students are getting the highest quality education, making sure that these wings that we are, creating have enough space for high school students. I've noticed that the classrooms are smaller, which is a worry. I've heard that this is to make more efficient spaces. There's only so many high schoolers you can pack into one space in a way that is conducive to their learning. Certainly you can fit a certain amount of bodies, but what is really going to provide a high quality education for our Providence public school students? Is that reflective of this plan? And this plan also gets rid of some community spaces, the garden itself, work that people have done in that space. So I feel a little bit concerned. I also feel concerned for the demolition of the Messer building. In that library was just redone, and we have had positions cut in Providence for the library role itself. Nathaniel Green just had a new media center, and they no longer have a librarian at their school. Like, that role is no longer offered. So I know that for City Planning Commission right now, like, y'all are looking very at the nuts and bolts and the legality of the plan, but I just want to provide a broader context to how it affects the people that are working in your schools, the kids that are on the ground, just so that you're aware of how this impacts those of us that are going to be in the building.
Thank you very much for that insight. Is there anyone else in the virtual room who wishes to speak on this? Please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. And the same goes for anyone here in the physical room.
We have Mike Lucy next. Mike,
Hi,
you can go ahead.
can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thanks. Listen, I was lucky enough to do some substitute teaching in Mount Pleasant High School a few years ago, and that building it's beautiful. It's built like a tank. I mean, it's going to be expensive to demo any of it. So I want to say, first of all, I'm glad you are saving some of it in this plan, and especially the 2 towers. I do think it's a shame that the new plan places the entrance in the new part and set back. So the students won't enter the building the same way between those 2 towers. They won't experience that big collegiate Gothic facade kind of rising over them, and that's like, so that'll become sort of boondocked in the experience of the place. And I'm glad it's still going to be there, but it's too bad that had to happen. And the other question I had is, the existing library, is that in the wing that's going to be demolished?
Okay, we can ask that to the.
Well, no, because the existing library is a beautiful wood-paneled, warm, cozy space on the 3rd floor, and it's a haven and like a refuge. And if that's just being destroyed and going to be replaced with some like white-walled media center, like on the 1st floor, like that's busy, like it's just, could they maybe reuse the wood panels? Like, that seems like a real loss of value to me, and it seems a shame to throw that specific, beautiful wood paneled library feature away. That's the end of my comments. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the virtual room or in the physical room who wishes to speak on this matter? And seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. Maybe just for a quick recap, if someone from the applicant's team can come up and just quickly speak to a few of these questions. We had dust control, asbestos. I know that both of those things are required when you file a building permit, you need an asbestos survey and things like that, but top floor redoing the sprinklers. And then to the librarians' comments, I know you may, I guess you could probably speak to the communication with the staff about the communication that's been happening or how the construction will occur, and then the library question.
Okay, Julie Allen from Agostini Construction, we're the construction manager, so I can talk to the concern about asbestos and dust. I just came off of Classical High School, where we did a similar renovation where it was pods of renovation, and each time, yes, they had asbestos, and yes, we had demo and we had dust. But we built temporary walls to close off each area. We have negative air machines. We do have asbestos. We know about it. We've had almost every inch of the building tested by now. We have a full plan. We filed with the Department of Health. We just recently got approval on our plan for removal of the asbestos. So that'll be one of the first things we'll do when we get into every phase. We'll get in there, we'll run through, we'll remove the asbestos, and we'll keep ourselves closed in that area, separate entrances, closed off. I think that's it for that. As far as timeline goes, I have a very detailed phasing plan right now, and it is complicated because, you know, school is in session and we're moving. We have just built the swing space. I know we mentioned that previously. So we moved one group out. They stay in there until we're done renovating the area, and then they move back in. So it's kind of a constant domino. We've shared that phasing plan with the staff. Joe, you can talk a little more on that, but we've shared that with principals so they know, and we're having constant meetings with them. For the sprinklers up on the fourth floor, I don't know what we're calling it, I guess fourth floor. Yes, we're doing even in the areas where we're quote unquote mothballing, where we're not doing really any work. We are bringing it up to code. So it's fire alarm and sprinkler. And yeah, we know what we have to do there as far as abating the space safely before we, you know, even for our workers to get in there.
Good afternoon again, Joe DeSanti with Downs. Just to follow up on a couple things on the abatement, just important to understand. There not only does it go to the Rhode Island Department of Health, and there's a plan that's approved, there's a separate independent third-party environmental consultant that puts the plan together, oversees the plan, and makes sure that we have air clearances for that as well. Because number one, we want to keep not only the students safe, but any of those workers that are going into that space. So there's hard barriers, there's negative air machines, it's highly regulated, the removal and the disposal of it. So we have all the right consultants in place. I do want to talk about that. The other thing is just to talk about the staff meetings. As I said, we've had 35 meetings for either community. Many of those meetings include staff. We've met at the auditorium where staff has come in after hours. There's a lot of programming meetings where department heads are at. Now, we cannot have every teacher at every meeting, but there is a representation of the school, the principal, or anybody else that he designates in this case that might be part of that meeting. So there are ongoing meetings. We are constantly providing information through a website or through either I guess we put some flyers together, those kind of things. So there is constant communication going on about the programming. And as far as size of classrooms, because I did hear somebody talk about that, saying too small. Again, I think that you guys actually had indicated earlier that this is a RIDE project that is a process that we have to go through, and there are guidelines and standards we have to meet. So classroom sizes are some of those standards. So any of the rooms that have been programmed and that are approved through RIDE do meet those guidelines. So there's no small classrooms. And then as far as keeping the paneling in the library is not getting demolition, that area. It is going to be converted, I think, to an art area, if I remember correctly. But highly unlikely that we'll keep that paneling. If anybody's been in that room, the lights are falling off the ceilings. The wall, the ceiling is filled with water stains. That water has been in that building for a long time. So the likelihood that wood, unfortunately, it's a beautiful oak paneling, is any good is probably not. It will be removed. If there's anything we could salvage, we certainly will. But it's highly unlikely.
Okay, thank you very much. You guys can return to your seats. All right, commissioners. We have an applicant in front of us that is looking for approval. And there were 3 votes we're going to have to take on this matter. We're gonna have to take, the first one will be the action on the waivers. The granting of waivers, the granting of waiver of state approvals at the preliminary plan stage. And the applicant seemed to be indicating they preferred at permitting. I don't think there's an issue with that. We checked with the advertising, and as long as they have them prior to the permitting of this project, I think that's probably fine. They advertised just a waiver of state approvals. They didn't indicate which stage they would be requesting at the advertising. And then we'll have to take a vote on the combination of stages. We approved the waivers. They meet the criteria to combine the stages. And then we'll have to vote on the land development project overall. I mean, overall, it seems like they put a lot of thought and effort into this, and I think it's a good plan to move forward with. As we start with the waiver of submissions of state approvals at the preliminary plan stage, and under the condition that they be submitted with the permitting of the project.
I'll make that motion.
All right,
I'll second.
I will go around and do a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Sid?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Next would be combination of stages that we vote to combine the master and preliminary plan approval, having approved the requested waivers.
I'll make that motion too.
I'll second.
All right, we'll go around and do another vote. Voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Sid?
Aye.
And I vote aye. And the last would be the approval of the land development project with the following conditions: that the CPC, the applicant, or sorry, that we approve the master and preliminary plan subject to the conditions that the applicant and the traffic engineers work with the city traffic engineer on implementation of the traffic study, and the drainage plan shall be subject to the city engineer's approval.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Sid?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Best of luck. On to the second agenda item, which is listed as your first in your agenda. This is a major land development project, a public hearing, case number 25-059 MA. It's 1655 Westminster Street. The applicant is again the city of Providence.
Sure, thanks, commissioners. And a quick introduction while the applicant makes their way to the table. So this is a request to construct a 4-story, 54-foot tall school building that will provide elementary education. The applicant will be demolishing the existing building and rebuilding it based on how you see on the way it's presented in your plans. So this is, as mentioned, this will be 54 feet tall, exceeding the height limit of the public space zone by approximately 4 feet. So they're requesting a dimensional adjustment for that. And we'll be talking to you about why that is necessary. Again, they're requesting to combine master and preliminary plan approval and requesting a waiver from submission of state approvals at this stage. So in presenting the plan, they will be talking to you about the building's design, as well as traffic, landscaping, environmental management, and other items that you review for land development projects.
Okay, thank you. Please take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Once again, I'm Christopher Menahan with West Group Law. We're here tonight on behalf of the city of Providence. As was mentioned, this is for the new Messer School at 1655 Westminster Street. So that's the location of the current school, which is an elementary. And so the plan here is for this new school building to serve those students as well as students from West Broadway Middle, which is right, it's across the street. So once again, this project is also in a PS zone. So public schools are allowed in that zone by right. And so tonight, the city is seeking to combine master plan and prelim plan and also a dimensional adjustment under section 1904E of the zoning ordinance. So as was mentioned, there's a maximum of 50-foot building height in this zone. And so here, this plan calls for 54 feet. Also, seeking waiver of submission of state approvals at this stage, specifically DEM, RIPD's, and Narragansett Bay Commission, and those to be provided at the permitting stage, unless there's any issue with the notice. Okay, and once again, that final plan be delegated to staff. So tonight, once again, joined by Joe DeSanti of Downs Construction, Sam Hemingway on engineering, Tracy Donnelly of Studio Jade on architecture, and
Chad Hawkson with Agostini Construction.
and yeah, with that, I will turn it over to the team.
Good afternoon again, Joe DeSanti from Downs Construction, Director of Program Management. In addition to the individuals here, we do have some representatives from Providence Public Schools and the city if any other questions arise.
Thank you, Tracy Donnelly, Studio Jade Architects. I can start with brief history. This is going to be one of the proposed pre-K to 8 schools, so it is combining the West Broadway and Asa Messer Elementary School on the existing Asa Messer site. Part of that site is ball field and public space that will be maintained. We are not touching that. We are just touching what is in the care and control of the school department and raising and rebuilding a new structure on that site. The new building will be 4 stories on the west side facing the highway and 3 stories off of Barton Street. By doing that, we are able to reduce the footprint from the existing building that's there about 40%. And when we do that, we are able to reduce the amount of bituminous pavement up by the ball field and turn that back over to public space or play area, in accordance with the comprehensive plan to maintain, and we are also supplementing that public space area.
Good evening, Sam Hemingway with Garofalo and Associates. We're the civil engineers on the project. This photo is a good, gives a good indication of the project scope in general. So this, unlike the last project we heard, this is a complete raise and rebuild. So a brand new facility is going on the property. They are going to be sited though, very similar to the existing. So the current building will come down and a smaller footprint building will go in the same location. There are a couple of elements on the property that we felt were important and we have incorporated into the design. The first was the relationship to the ball fields, to the park, the public facilities on the north side of the property. There's a pedestrian connection and a play area in that zone as well, which we are incorporating into the design to provide integration between the school and the recreation facilities. There is also what we call a plaza up at the intersection of Westminster and Barton. I think that has functionally been a great public space tying the school with the other elements of the city along that corridor. We are introducing again a landscape pavilion in that area, very similar to the existing additions. And the parking field is at the rear of the school up against the highway. This school, like many schools in Providence, we believe, although meets the parking ordinance, is light on parking during those critical times, drop off and pick up of students. The most significant change, aside from obviously from the new building, in terms of operation, is going. We have recommended a change in the operations related to pick up and drop off specifically. We're suggesting that the buses be shifted out of the parking field in the rear and loaded up on Barton Street, and that the parent pickup and drop off occurs in the parking field. To do that, it was necessary to make a larger parking field and to provide a better circulation through the field so that that can happen safely, that loading and unloading can happen safely. The new program introduces a more significant pre-K drop-off. We have also isolated the parents pickup and drop-off for the pre-K students, separate from the other students at school and the other parents. So we've kind of provided two circulation zones. And then the last thing we did, we've introduced is a larger and more, a longer and wider exiting move from the parking field with a dedicated left and right allowances for two turn lanes out so that you can get a free right out of the property when there are vehicles stacked to turn left. We're confident that the introduction of all those, there's a pretty significant increase in the number of buses we're expecting, or at least as a worst case scenario, that would occur at this property. So we think introducing all of these measures is going to significantly improve the safety and operation, both for pedestrians, but also the moves through those critical times. If you're not aware, the Paul Coffey School is also on Barton Street. We have initiated coordination with the city traffic department and introduced discussions along that corridor with that school. We've talked to members of the team have talked to that school. We think it's also important to coordinate the operations, the hours of the school, the drop-offs. It is a narrow street, but again, I think separating the buses and the parent vehicles and managing the parents more carefully by putting them on site in the back of the field is going to improve the conditions a lot. Otherwise, as was mentioned, the school has gone between a 3 and a 4 story structure. One of the waivers that is being requested, or not a waiver, one of the adjustments that is being requested is a very modest increase to building height. Again, that is the primary impetus is to get the best functioning property that we can, tying to the open spaces on the property. But that the split level nature of the building and the mechanism that the city uses to measure average building height has precipitated this minor adjustment. Again, from a practical standpoint, that's really about keeping ceiling heights in the school in a manner that you can meet current building codes and needs. I think Tracy is probably more versed than I am to talk about that. We have included in the package a landscape plan indicating that we are compliant, at least through the tree coverage on the property. We are currently working with the city forester, with the final tree selection, to make sure that we meet, the minor adjustment to the interior landscape islands. We think the islands, the circulation pattern, again, is what's driving. We are certainly going to provide specimen and tree sizes that will mitigate and provide the adequate size of canopy necessary and required by the ordinance. Lighting plans were also provided under this application. We have full cutoff fixtures proposed at this school. We don't, because the parking fields are primarily at the rear of the site, very little impacted the neighboring properties, mostly abutting the highway and the bike lane on the backside. There are some decorative fixtures up in front, as I indicated earlier. We're anticipating a plaza similar to the existing, with some seating, low seating walls and landscape elements, and those will be lit as well. Hopefully I touched at a very high level on most of the items that the board might be interested in. Obviously, we have a lot more information available, and I'm available for questions.
Yeah, Sam, real quick, can you talk a little bit about the waiver, just to put on the record where you are in that process? State approvals.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, so this project, as with most projects over an acre, requires several state permits. In this case, there is a history of environmental conditions on this property have required dovetailing between the different departments up at DM, as well as a drainage permit through the RIPS program. That process is ongoing now. Similarly, NBC is a pseudo-state agency. That permit, we would like to defer until the later stages of development. Certainly there is public water and public sewer available at the property, and there's a long history of both being served on the site for this purpose.
Thank you, Sam. I understand the height. I'm very familiar with this. I think during COVID, I probably walked past this with my daughter in a stroller every day, because it was part of my route to get out of the house. So I know the topography is a bit challenging, and the height, I don't think that bothers me in any way, shape, or form. I like the idea of introducing the drop-offs inside the parking area. Have you done any traffic studies or investigations? Because this area already is very, very crowded in the morning drop off and the afternoon pickup. And Barton Street is a huge cut through. Everyone who's going to work is using that to get over to Broadway or vice versa, to get down to Olneyville Square, to get on highways. I mean, it's challenging, and I see these introducing buses on both sides, not to mention we haven't thought about the impact of the school on the other side of the street. How's that gonna work?
Yeah, so yes, we have. So we retained the services of Crossman Engineering, and did a traffic investigation that's provided as part of the application process. We have met on a couple of occasions with Nate in the traffic division to talk about the impacts, as well as I mentioned, going to the Crossman School. We recognize exactly what you've said. We have talked about some additional management strategies that might continue to help, as restricting hours, traffic and cut through during hours of students, potentially other, even beyond that, changes in direction. We think that it's difficult right now, right? The school is no longer operational. The change hasn't occurred yet. We have done updated. We did an initial investigation. We reviewed it when the plan changed, and are confident we're going to see significant betterment. There's no question that three sides of this property are well-traveled corridors, right? There's not much way to get around it. The managing of the parents, we feel, is the single biggest improvement. So right now, it can be at times chaotic. People go wherever they can get a space. I think, although you can't stop that from happening, you can certainly try and isolate it. That the larger field with the larger turns allows one or two people from school to get out there, try and keep things under control, but regardless, it's off the street. So there are crossing guards posted, generally speaking, during those times anyway. So that there's control pedestrian moves across the streets. The buses, obviously big and yellow, help, that we think those conflicts will be much less substantial than the parent vehicles. And then platooning the vehicles out of at one time, out of the rear, we think is again going to be a significant improvement. So
No,
we
you
are
agree.
continuing to work with the traffic division, but in response to the specific question, yes, we have looked for it. Our engineer was not able to make the meeting tonight, but his information has been included.
Yeah, it was in the packet, yeah. I tend to agree with you that the idea of the buses and having, X amount of students crossing at one time, if they're on the other side of the street on Barton versus individual parents, I mean, there were some scary situations there at any given day. Coming from Messer Street, taking a left onto Westminster Street right in front of the school. I mean, it's a challenging area in the mornings, and I do think this may help, but I think the applicant's gonna have to continue to watch this as it's implemented, because it's gonna be a challenge to control that and to have safe movements throughout that area with children, buses, and regular traffic. Yeah, go ahead, Sid.
So, first question is, what will West Broadway, now that the middle school is out, will that be another school? Will that turn into another school? Because that's a big difference if you're adding middle school to a semester and then you're still having West Broadway be a school. So, in full disclosure, I live right across the street from West Broadway, and it is an abject disaster. Everything about what Michael was saying about the traffic, and I'm just not getting any confidence at all that you have a handle on Cuffy, those buses, those parents, 20 Bay parents. It's the Wild West. You can't control the parent. I couldn't even get my driveway this afternoon when I came back from work because I had to get out of my car and ask a guy to just pull up so I could pull in my driveway. And he was like, okay, I'll do that for you. And it's like, okay. So I think that it's a domino effect in terms of the cut through. Bainbridge is a one-way and Toby's a one-way, so you can't stop regular traffic from going down Barton Street, really, because where's the next turn? You can't turn left on Bainbridge off of Westminster, so you have to go up 2 blocks to Toby. And these are all residential streets that are already really taxed. And then you have people coming off of Route 10 that was just fixed, and they're turning up Westminster or down. So, to say that the traffic, I just think it's such an understatement to say that the traffic is bad. And I think if you add, again, if West Broadway turns into another school, you're just making, it's absolutely impossible for anyone to live on any of those 3 streets. So I guess, I don't know if there's a question in there. What's happening to West Broadway is my main question.
What's happening to
Yeah,
West Broadway?
I could respond to both those questions again. Joe DeSanti with Downs. To the best of our knowledge, there's no other school going at West Broadway that we're aware of, that's being planned. Not sure what the city will be doing with that property, but that is a question we could ask. As far as traffic control, as being involved with every single project here in Providence, one of the things we do when we go into the community is we know how chaotic it is on almost every single school right now. And Messer is one of the worst ones as you come off of Westminster. Our thought process was with the bus on Barton is right now, everybody goes in to the parking lot of Messer. So parents, buses, and it's very chaotic. They've done an excellent job with having staff out there helping, but it's everybody coming in and out one driveway. So the thought was by taking the buses and putting them on Barton, and the buses we can control, and I say we, the district, contractually can control when they're there, how they're there, what they do, and then bring the parents on the site to stop them from parking all the ways up Westminster. Because I've been there many times during pickup or drop off, and I park way up the street and walk down because people are double parked, triple parked. So that's the thought behind it, is to bring as many as we can bring on site, because we will have a separate entrance as well, and maybe Tracy want to point that out. The other thing we're doing is breaking up the entrances, so we'll have upper elementary, which is the middle school. We will have elementary school entrance and then the pre-K entrance. So there'll be 3 separate entrances for the kids to come in and out of. And then when school is in session, there's only one way in and out of the building for visitors to come in. But yeah, we recognize and we think that the best that we can, to better it, right? We could never make it great just because of the location, is to take those buses, get them off the property, put them on Barton Street where we control them. And we've had conversations with Paul Cuffey administration. I think their time is a little bit off of ours, so we're not gonna have everybody there together. And I know some of that traffic that you see there from on the other streets is also from Paul Cuffey, and they're aware of it, and they're doing their best to try to control that and make it better.
All right, have you thought about any staggering of pre-K and middle, or pre-K and K, or like lower school and middle school?
They have, and I think that they've decided, and the district would have to talk to this,
Yeah,
but
right.
right now, I think that on other
Just out of
projects, we've
curiosity.
had this conversation, and I think that because there'll be siblings, right? So if you have a pre-K or kindergartner with the 3rd grader, you want them to be on the same bus together. But there has been some discussion about that in certain schools, but here, no, it's all gonna be the same.
Well, when I hear 3 separate entrances, I hear 3 different places for parents to sneak up to pick up and drop off their kids. One, because they will go to the closest entrance that it is to where they need to drop off or pick up. That's just, so that's a problem. 2 is, again, the buses for Cuffey and the drop off and pickup that's on that side. And 3 is, are 20 spaces for parents to do drop off and pick up even enough? Because surprisingly, a lot of people do drive to bring their kids to school. And I'm not sure, looking at this map, if the queuing with 20 people, and then if the overflow is out onto Westminster Street and people are coming off of Route 10, I mean, so I would wonder about that number.
Yeah, the 3 entrances would be controlled entrances for the parents to come in. They're very specific and located in a specific location. So parents aren't gonna be able to drive up and drop their kid off at that door entrance. They have
I
to.
mean, in theory, they're not supposed to do that at West Broadway either, but yet, here we are.
Yeah, well, that's part of the operations of the school as well. And I don't know if it would be helpful if you showed where those entrances are.
Sure, if you call that plan back up, we can look at the proposed snorkel lane around that parents would be pulling up.
Yeah, much better.
So what we're proposing is a whole snorkel lane where parents could pull up. Drop off would occur along the sidewalk. Parents would not be getting out to drop their student off. And then once the student is on the sidewalk, the different entrances we're talking about by grade is for the student. So middle school students would be going in through one entrance and exit. Elementary in one entrance and exit, lower elementary into a different exit. So you don't have all the kids going in and out the same doors. They're not mixing younger elementary with the middle school, but that does not change the parent drop-off area and then pulling back out. And then the bus drop-off would be here with a little bit of a indentation so they could pull up in front of the school and drop directly onto the sidewalk. Students could then enter this whole front of the school and be brought to different locations, whether it be the gym or the cafeteria, and held till they go up to their classes. The times start and release for Paul Cuffey and this school would be staggered. Would be staggered so that they wouldn't have everybody all at once. And then obviously the West Broadway school, not currently being a school, would open up that area as well. And potentially Paul Cuffey could move their drop off over onto this, then completely separating themselves from a semester.
And just my last comment would be, I think it makes more sense to put the elementary at the end because they take more time to get out of the car. So if you have the elementary drop off first, you've got little kids bumbling around and then you've got the traffic queuing behind you, whereas middle schoolers can't get out of the car fast enough, so I would consider flip-flopping that.
Yeah, we could take a look at that. It does have some relation to where they're going once they get into the building, but we can take a look at that.
And it seems well thought out, and I mean, we won't know until it's put in practice, unfortunately, how well it's executed and absorbed by the users. And it's that tug and pull of having, you know, neighborhood schools in an urban setting. We want them in our neighborhoods, and we want them close by, and we want them walkable, and we want them to be within our fabric of our neighborhoods. But then we have these issues where we have to try to navigate how the disruption, you know, and it's not all day, it's during these isolated times. But it is impactful.
Yeah, and as mentioned, we are trying to limit as much as possible the footprint of this building. That is, has to do with the height of the 4 stories. So we can get as much parking, as much circulation into the back of this as possible.
Is there any way to access Broadway from the parking? Through that strip of land behind the ball field?
No, there isn't.
What's that? Razor Road.
Yeah, because of the grade, the grading.
Like here, Broadway's here
Yeah.
at that point.
So
So is that, parking lot in the whole too?
Yeah, you're right. It's closer to it's closer to that.
Well, it's just the new ramp they just.
I was thinking as opposed to Barton Street,
Yeah.
but you're right.
So parents are pulling in and back out of that same driveway
Mhm.
and, oh, God, so,
Well, I thought they were.
Go through.
yeah, I mean, as someone who's, like, I have a building on Broadway I'm at almost every day, so I
Mhm.
interact with this constantly. And like people pulling off the exit, off the expressway, I mean, I see people almost get hit all the time. And, you know, as a parent, you have to get out of the car to buckle them in and out of a
Yes.
car seat. Even if they're, you know, 4th grade, they're still sitting in some sort of seat. So
Mhm.
I just, my concern is I see what it's like now with a very similar configuration. I think there probably has to be some sort of consideration for like an in and an out on a separate street.
We looked at that as closely as we could, and with the grading of this site and the dimensional change between this, there's just no way to get through traffic through this site.
Was there an official traffic study done or
Yes.
just recommendation? Okay,
No,
so there.
there's an official traffic study that was done, I think, back in 2023, and then updated again just recently. And we did, I worked with them and Sam worked with them as well. And we had many options for this site. And we did look at putting the buses down here and the parents up at Barton.
Mhm.
And this was, what we felt the plan that we should put forward.
Okay, so if I'm leaving my location on Broadway, my phone or the mapping application will always send me up to Westminster and then over to get onto the Huntington Expressway.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's a way to work with the city to kind of notify Google and Apple Maps, but they are purposely routing traffic from Broadway to Westminster to get onto the new on-ramp.
Yeah, and we can look into that. I know there are ways to contact them and let them know.
Has there been any communication or conversation with the city surrounding maybe signalizing entrances and exits, or including Messer in the Barton Street signal, something to better, there's a lot of conflicts there, and that's where you see people trying to get out of Messer, take a left and zoom over, and there's someone taking a left to try to get into the parking lot at Asa Messer.
And you can turn right on a red across to New Bike
Right.
Path. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
has there been any discussions, any thoughts about?
Certainly there's been thought, so. Certainly there's been thoughts and discussions. I don't think that a formal review of the signal timings, was done. There are obviously constraints. The secondary, connection was looked at in a very serious way. The vehicles egressing to the right are it's a significant conflict for
Yeah.
a free right.
Right.
And putting exiting vehicles at that location. So, yeah, we felt that that was, it's a DOT intersection in conjunction with the city.
Yeah,
But
Westminster's
it's
restricted,
asking
right.
for trouble.
Yeah.
The location of the entrance as it occurs now is actually reasonably functional. But the configuration of the lot and the circulation pattern through the lot inhibits drivers from making good decisions quickly. The other significant improvement that you see on this plan, in general, that the afternoon pickup is when things really clog up. People get there early and they're sitting in their vehicles and they're trying to walk and tell their children where they are, et cetera. The configuration that we've chosen with the long exterior circulation lanes allows, although the vehicle count that you noted, that is significant for and adequate for platooning of drop-offs. So if you're going to a normal drop where you wait in a queue and your kids jump out and you keep circulating through, that is a significant queue. The afternoon, when a lot of parents, everybody leaves at once, we would expect the vehicles to be circulating through the entire lot along that curb line and allowing staging of vehicles. So there's a 30-some-odd% increase in the number of parking spaces. There's the elimination of the bus operations that are going on there now that are chaotic in and of themselves. And then there's a long curb line that has been introduced in the layout that we proposed. There certainly will be vehicle concerns at that entrance. We think that's a much safer condition than parents and children egressing in multiple locations and none of them functioning well. Right now, there are very few areas that function well.
I don't disagree. I think it looks like it's, by design, will function better than it currently exists or has existed. I just want to make sure we're having these discussions and asking these questions because it's an impact to the neighborhood.
And for context, the school is closed
Yeah.
right now, and it's still an abject disaster.
Yes.
There's been no relief, and you would think, when I saw the school literally getting knocked down, I was like, oh, great, Barton Street's not gonna be a mess for a couple of years. It's exactly the same mess. So you're adding 2 more grades do on top of the mess. And again, the confounder is West Broadway, which will probably be bought and turned into a charter school. So now we have 3 more grades. There's only so much a residential neighborhood can take.
I have a separate but related question.
I'm hoping this goes to design or something.
No, it's not gonna go to design. Well, you could call this design, I guess, but for people who wanna walk or bike to drop off their kid, we're trying to relieve the car problem. There's obviously a bike path running along the west side here, and can you just speak a little bit about how those people are gonna access the school and like where those kids go in and how we're maybe making use of that existing infrastructure?
Yeah, so there are, by ordinance, there are 100 and some odd bike parking bike spaces. We primarily located those up towards the Barton Street side. We've distributed some on the back side of the school. The connection to the bike path is difficult because it's a fence line, and there's actually a grade differential between the 2 properties that would make it difficult. So we anticipate actually at that same connection, the bike connection would be through the pedestrian egress. It doesn't show up on this very well, but along the south side of the parking parallels the street, so that it would be through that same area. That across the entrance and into this lower parking field or up the sidewalk. It's a good wide sidewalk on Westminster, up to that plaza area where there's significant bike paths. You can see those dash lines on the lower right of this plan.
So I guess my question there is, it doesn't, well, I guess, which I appreciate the grade change is difficult to navigate. But I'm trying to figure out which entrance are those kids actually going to? And are we further exacerbating the issue with the one drive aisle in and out if, you know, if we're bringing bikes or people walking and bikes and everyone's kind of
I
passing
would
through that
expect
drive
the
aisle?
primary bike move to be at that same.
From the
entrance.
neighborhood?
So, we,
These are all bike, storage racks, and they would go right in the main entrance.
Okay,
And there's a crosswalk and crossing guards at Barton
Yeah.
and
Right,
Westminster already. There are crosswalks at Messer, but don't try to use those at that time of day. It's not safe. But I think actually something that Sid said, not to interrupt this discussion, but it rings with me. The school is closed, demolished. I think the biggest problem here is the biggest traffic generator is the highway. It's not the school, obviously. So we can't pin this all on you. It's just, we need to have this discussion to say, like, we're gonna have to figure this out, I think, along the way. But obviously, it's the traffic from the highway now is the biggest problem in this area. If the school's not generating it, it's still a mess. So, I mean, that's just something to keep in mind.
I'm visual, so I'm trying to visualize this whole thing. So the first thing is the three entries or exits on Westminster. That left one concerns me because they had to cross, you know, the lane to go to the left. I don't know if you thought of if it's an idea to maybe just have one way out to the right, and how that would affect things. You know, cause I just see the bottleneck, you know, starting people trying to make that quick left and cutting through traffic and pretty scary to look at. And then the drop off is pretty easy, right? You know, parent comes out, unstraps a kid, hands them to, I'm assuming personnel is gonna be out there taking the kids in. And I know you addressed a little, but I'm trying to understand the pickup. Because I'm coming in, you don't know I'm coming in, is my kid gonna be out there so that I can pick them up quickly and get out of there? Otherwise, I am concerned it's gonna really be, I mean, I don't see how that many cars can fit to pick up their kids and waiting for them.
the
Yep.
expectation is that there would be vehicles lining this that way. So that in the afternoon period, when school is not out, but not loading, you're directing the first parent vehicle
To go to the line.
get to the front line.
And that's
It's virtually double from what's shown. So this is a drop in terms of efficiency, right? So this is a stacking, a platooning of dropping for children.
That's the 20?
Right, so
Okay.
there's a pre-K entrance here, these are parents getting out and walking to this pre-K entrance over here. That's that immediate, basically it's an offline move to get over here. There's an operation here that is pre-K, there's small kids, but it's much more intensive than parents. Like parents gotta get out, they gotta walk in the door, you gotta make sure that's safe, get them up. That operation has been segregated in this front parking field. The morning drop would be this stack here. So that you can, if you platoon 6 or 8 parents to pull up, every, your children, that's what doing through, then that would be a significant issue. Not the way that all public schools operate, and it's a much better theory than it is practice in a lot of instances. But that's a management issue that it is certainly achievable. But in the afternoon, when parents get to the school, they're 25 minutes early because they want to be first in the queue and every, you know, that is one of the major cause for the area. Because parents are just looking for anywhere to park. Restricted parking, not double parking, triple, you know, there's really no way to avoid all that. It's that additional area. That's, again, even in these central aisles, right, these teachers are not necessarily jumping on their cars at the electric let. Now, you're gonna have parents, there's no avoidance. So the 40 vehicles is a significant, number, right, for bus ridership, everybody in this room knows, push it. Neighbors push it, right, get the kids back on buses, that's the first fix. But the additional stacking and this control point is going to be, you know, there's already crossing yards where that needs to be controlled, and needs to be the person managing this field so it operates for the conditions once schools, once the parents are, know what they're doing to get in a routine, it gets better. But
And
So
one thing
first-
right now, West Broadway and Asa Messer have different start and pickup time, start and end days of the school day, right? So if you're a parent and you have to drop a child at, West Broadway, we've noticed parents sitting around waiting to let the elementary school child out a half hour later or whatever it is. So with the times being combined and the efficiency, that's another thing that we're looking at.
I know we haven't gotten here yet, but, I mean, I think this discussion could continue on about traffic and parking for quite some time. There is in the staff report, it talks about the traffic engineer and the implementation of the recommendations in the traffic memo. I think one of the things that we should and could propose, should we move this to approval, is, some sort of, annual check-in with Bob's team at DPD, about performance, actual functionality of the traffic movements, the recommendations, how they've been implemented, and pinch points. I think we're not gonna be able to solve it here, and I think having some annual check-in, not necessarily making them come back to us every year, but I think with Bob and his team, I think would make me feel a little bit better.
Mike, I have just one more comment. I would rather see the buses on the inside than the parents, because at least you can control where the buses go when they come out. One big bus carrying 50 kids making a right turn onto Westminster Street is a whole lot easier than 6 cars, one's going left, one's going right, one's going to U-turn, one's going upside down. I mean, at least with the buses, they're under, you can't control the parents, but the buses, you could say, oh, the bus has to take a right and go down and around, whatever, but you just have a lot more leeway with the buses coming out in flow of traffic than the parents, which can go left or right, or on the sidewalk, or wherever, you know what I mean? Or scoot down and then try to take the left on Messer Street. That's where the mess comes in. And so I honestly think putting the parents in the parking lot and then having them dump out is far worse.
One last question. One of the, waivers, do you need a RIDOT PAPA? Or using existing curb cuts and you're exempt from a municipal exemption, or?
We are ongoing, we're having a coordination with DOT. I'm not sure that they're putting it in the PAP program.
Okay.
They do require approval of the plan. So because.
But it's through some sort of like
because
ride
it's on the highway
approval,
and
yeah.
There's negotiation of that line, changes in that line going on. It is integral to the DOT process. I had not been told that we would need to actually file with PAP, but we certainly need DOT approval. And to that extent, I think adding that to the list of state approvals is probably approved.
Okay. Then there'll be some more discussion and possibly traffic studies and
Absolutely.
movement
They have
investigation and things like that about this as well, because, you know, it's a state highway as well. Okay. Any other questions for this applicant?
I guess I will chime in on building design. I guess just looking over, I mean, we didn't talk at all about the interiors of the plans, and I think, you know, looking at the elevations and the renderings, I'm sure these plans are developing as you go and changing. But I think, am I correct that the upper level or the upper sort of register of the building is some sort of metal panel?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
The base would be masonry, brick, and then metal panel up above.
okay, so is everything we're seeing in the bottom that is brick colored brick?
Yes.
Okay.
And the whiter brick too, right? So it looks like there's white brick and red brick, maybe?
Yeah, the red brick just looks like it has a funny pattern, but
Yeah,
I
it kind of
think
looks
it's just a
like
rendering.
metal or something.
So currently where it says a semester school right now was a lighter color brick. And what looks reddish is, that is not a brick material, that is a composite wood material, to give it a little more warmth. That was shown on the gym portion, which is beyond and much taller. We have changed that to be masonry as well.
Okay.
Okay.
There's nothing more that we like than something that pretends to be wood that's not. That a big decision.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of wood shown, and that would be a wood product, whether it is with a polymer or not, we're still looking at that.
And then the upper sort of metal panel, or I guess the question I had about that is, it looks like, are these punch windows or is it some sort of curtain wall?
No, it will be punched windows.
Okay. So I think there seems to be like a design impetus here to create kind of like a consistent band around. I guess one question I had was just how these openings and windows, and it's funny, actually, I think most of the time I'm arguing for more simplicity and consistency. But I'm wondering, this seems very consistent, almost in like an office tower type of way. So, it's obviously not a tower, but I'm wondering if there is some sort of patterning that makes the interior a little bit more legible. Not that you have to sort of vary up materials, but just thinking about kind of the specificity of some of these openings and why they are the size that they are and whether they relate to the classrooms behind them, or, you know, at the bottom, whether there are sort of programmatic reasons for larger or smaller openings would help.
I can talk to that.
Bring them up. Can you use the mic?
So yes, obviously, this whole level is predominantly all classrooms. And this is metal panel here with just these punched opening windows in the center of that. So it's a little bit staggered, but you can see that for the majority of it, they do align. Sometimes they don't align, but they are in relation to the classrooms that are there. This portion over here is the gymnasium, and under that is the music and art classrooms. This center portion here is the main office and the media center, so that you can see we do have some storefront system in that area. And then this is the pre-K and the K and 1 grades that are above that. And so just the piers would be the composite wood material. Everything else would be masonry or metal panel.
So sorry, the volume on the left is brick, you're saying, or it's masonry of some kind.
Yes.
And then the piers are
Yes, originally we were thinking maybe we would have some wood on this, but this is masonry now.
okay. And when you
Okay.
say composite wood, you mean like, do you have a product actually?
We haven't, I can get a cut sheet on some potential products. We haven't narrowed that down yet.
Okay, one last question. On the upper section, is there some sort of recess associated with the darker metal panel, or is it all flush, like glass, metal, all flush?
It's all flush for the most part. These are vertical panels, and they will have some profile to them to give kind of a ribbing effect, but the panels themselves will be in the same plane. Did you want to look
No,
at the
no,
other
I'm good.
side or?
No, I'm good. I'm just thinking.
Okay.
Rachel, Noel, Miguel, any other questions for the applicant? Or hear the staff report?
I just wanted to know what the population increase would be.
Sure.
What are you anticipating? Like, what's the increase in size for student body?
For student body. There would be about just under 1,000 students here. The building is actually designed for 1,040 students. And it's bringing that middle school component in, so I think it's about 550 right now.
So basically the same size as Mount Pleasant High School with the whole new, I mean, this is huge. Just putting it out there, you're doubling the size in an area where the traffic with no school is already an abject disaster. And then we're gonna drop 1,000 kids without a traffic plan that really makes much sense.
What was the previous middle school and elementary school? Is it about the same as those?
Yeah,
two?
so it's going to be the Asa Messer and West Broadway schools combined. They're not bringing any additional students over here. So right now, Asa Messer acts as a feeding school for West Broadway. And so that's why it's being brought together as one school. It's not going to increase the population of the two schools put together.
Okay, so the footprint was already there. We're just combining them. Instead of being here and here, they're all.
Right, instead of a street in between, they're all
Right.
on one.
Okay. One more thing, maybe Sam, this is back to you. You touched on, one of the votes we have to make, which is the request for the dimensional adjustment. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit more. Just what's required, what you're requesting, and the rationale behind it.
I can speak to that
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
well.
Sorry, yeah, go
So,
right
no,
ahead.
that's okay. So obviously it's the 50-foot requirement that's in the code. We're asking for relief of 4 feet or 54 feet. And again, it has to do with PPSD and ride requirements as to how the grade configuration occurs in the building and minimum height requirements for ceilings that ride has for like the media center or the cafeteria as being 12 feet. And then we have a little bit of space for ductwork and structure. So our floors are 14, 16, 14, 14.
Okay, thank you. And the request for the submission of waivers is the same as the last, which would be at the permitting stage, right? Okay.
I might add, Mr. Chair, when it comes to the design, I'm sorry, the dimensional adjustment for the height, in the ordinance, there's language about, I apologize here. The particular findings, there is some language that allow you to make that adjustment, for two reasons. One is that on this site, there is the provision of open space for public use. And also you have kind of a catch-all that speaks to the location, size, and type of use requiring an adjustment. And I think she just spoke to the issues of grading on the site that, and also the type of building as defined by the state requirements.
All right. Thank you very much. Is anything else before we hear the staff report from commissioners?
I would be curious about the community engagement piece, meetings and
So yes, so we did have some community engagement sessions. We did have sessions at Asa Messer, and we also had community engagement with the West Broadway Neighborhood Association.
What's the expected completion date?
That would be substantial completion June of 2027.
Just go back to the point. So you mentioned who you had the meetings with, but what was the commentary,
What were the
and what was the
comments?
feedback, and what?
So sure, so if we go back to the site plan or the landscape plan for a second. Or I can just talk about it. So, one of the concerns or the comments, wasn't really concerned that the West Broadway Neighborhood Association had was maintaining the connection back to the neighborhood, specifically at the Barton and Westminster intersection. So on our landscape plan, you can see that's why we developed that plaza there. It's circular, it ties the neighborhood into the site. You can go up to the plaza at the main entrance, you can go down into the lower portion of the site, and we maintained the circulation that they have now. There's some brick pavers and there's some plaza along that whole edge of the property. So all that has been looked at and incorporated into the landscape plan.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to chime in now that I had a moment to think about materials and the sort of architectural expression. I think one of the kind of things that's making me question aspects of the design is the sort of combination of something that looks at the ground level like sort of it's paying homage to some sort of industrial masonry language of building, and then upper level, which is very different, which seems to be kind of emphasizing thinness in material, and I think either one of those, both of those things actually could coexist nicely together. I guess my question is whether the upper level, whether that ground level expression could be kind of maybe emphasized. Like, I think you're using masonry really well in some places, and I question kind of the move to composite wood again, and I'm also questioning kind of what composite wood really means. And I'm wondering whether the sort of ground level could just be some sort of storefront, which you're showing, and masonry, and really kind of like beef up that reflection back to a type of architecture that is pretty prevalent here. And then at the upper level, the consistency doesn't bother me so much. It's always fun in schools to sort of understand the programs that are behind them and behind the facade, and think a little bit about the specificity of openings. And maybe that is also coming down the line in the design. But I don't know, this discussion of heaviness versus thinness, I just kind of wonder whether that top bit could, again, still have a consistent expression, but have a little bit more depth to it, such that, maybe some of those windows get some shading, or maybe that play with color is actually a play with, depth in the facade. And I think it could still remain quite consistent around the building and still give a little bit more depth to that expression.
You could take a look at that.
Anything else before we hear the staff report? Then Shoyan, take it away.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. And so the applicant did talk about the building's design as well as the site layout. And as you saw, it largely conforms to the zoning ordinance, save for the issue of the height. And so for that, they're requesting a dimensional adjustment. And also, as we've spoken about, they are eligible for that through provision of the public space amenity, which is the baseball field adjoining the school, as well as the size, type, and use requiring this adjustment. So they do meet the eligibility criteria in section 1904.e.1 of the ordinance. And based on that, we would recommend that you grant the requested dimensional adjustment for 4 feet of height. They did speak about parking. They do meet the parking requirement for vehicles as well as bicycles. They also presented their traffic management plan as required. And as far as landscaping goes, they will meet the canopy coverage requirement. They do fall a little bit short of the interior landscaping requirement, but as they said, they will be working with the city forester to meet that shortfall. We don't foresee a negative environmental impact. They have applied for state approvals and have also requested a waiver, which we recommend that you grant, finding it to be in the interest of good planning practice. And also, having granted that waiver, we would recommend that you combine both stages and approve the master and preliminary plan of the land development project, first finding consistency with the comprehensive plan, given that this building is located within the future land use map designation for public space and open space, and also the development of the school being in conformance with objective CS8 of the comprehensive plan. And again, as we said, they do conform to the zoning ordinance, save for the dimensional adjustment required for height. We don't foresee negative environmental impact. This is a buildable lot, and physical access to the site will be provided from Westminster and Barton Streets. So based on that, we would first recommend that you vote to grant the waiver from submission of state approvals at the preliminary plan stage, with the condition that they be submitted at the permitting stage. Following that, we would recommend that you combine master and preliminary plan approval and then approve the land development project subject to these conditions. The applicant and their traffic engineer shall work with the city traffic engineer on implementation of the recommendations in the traffic plan. And if you would like, you could add the condition that they check in with the Department of Planning and Development, just to show what progress they're making. The street tree planting shall be subject to the city forester's review. The applicant shall consider an alternative to paving the surrounding sidewalks with brick. And I should note that when reviewing this plan, the city engineer did express some reservations at treating the sidewalk around the building with brick or cobblestones, because they would be difficult to maintain. So that's why we do ask that they look for something else in line with the city engineer's recommendation. And finally, the drainage plan shall be subject to the city engineer's approval.
Okay, thank you, Troyan. This is a public meeting, so if there's anyone here in the physical audience who wishes to speak on this matter, we don't have anyone signed up. But if there's anyone, please raise your hand. And if you're joining us in our virtual room, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. All right, seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. Well, I think traffic is the biggest issue here, but I don't think we're going to solve it. It's public property that had a school. The population of the schools aren't increasing between the two that were previously there. You know, we can't. My crystal ball broke a long time ago, so I can't figure out what's going to happen with the West Broadway school, middle school. And if and when that comes to us for something else, we might have another conversation. But this is lining up for 4 votes, not 3 actions. The first would be an action on the waiver. The second would be an action on the combination of the stages. The third would be the dimensional adjustment, and separate and apart from the land development project. Am I getting that right? Does that sound right? Okay. So, commissioners, do we feel that the applicant has, well, the first is the waiver of the state approvals at the preliminary plan stage under the conditions they submitted at the permitting stage, which is good planning practice. So that.
I guess I'm still having a hard
Doesn't
time
take a lot
with the traffic piece.
Yeah.
I don't recall a meeting with the WBNA, and I'm pretty involved, over the last 2 years. I we haven't gotten together in the neighborhood to discuss. I don't recall a meeting to discuss this, and I'm sure traffic would have come up. And I don't know if there's any way to, I think there's plenty of concern about the traffic. My kids went there to school, that's scenario I avoid in the morning. We just don't know how it's gonna work. And I know we've run into this before at another school that I'm not sure what happened in the end, with the traffic got solved, one that we approved a couple of years ago, but it's also a traffic, problem. They're gonna borrow a lot from the church or something or try to acquire the parking lot or things like that. I don't know where these things land if we don't ever see them again.
That's why I wanted to have a check-in on this one, because it's a problem I'm aware of and I know. And I think the only thing that we can do, I mean, right now, obviously DOT is gonna have to chime in on this. And, my suggestion, if we get to that stage of approval, would be that we have an annual check-in with DPD staff and, Bob can update us on any relevant findings or bring it to our attention if there are any issues. I think that's really the only mechanism to have a check-in, that I'm aware of or that I've thought of.
We could certainly do that. So this is the city, as the applicant. Another branch of the city is the Department of Public Works, where the traffic engineer sits. And it's common for, in this case, they have a private consulting traffic engineer, and we have our staff traffic engineer. They consult, they work together. And I've seen these interactions where, there are sometimes when, our traffic engineer will allow them to implement their plan, but he'll have a requirement that they have to, evaluate traffic after the whatever the new development is, after it's been in service for 6 months. And then, there could be recurring, I mean, if you see fit, there could be recurring check-ins. So I know that's certainly a possibility. I think right now, a lot of the, a traffic study is kind of theoretical and it makes certain assumptions, and you really don't know for sure what's gonna happen until the project happens. And then you can make adjustments as you go.
I mean, that'd be my recommendation on how to deal with it.
If I recall that project that I don't remember the name of the school.
I think that was the Spaziano
I think
over in Silver Lake.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think that part of it is the programmatic piece, right? So they don't manage the schools after they're built, but trying to get the schools to work with the community to kind of solve the problem. I think they passed out neighborhood passes or something and closed up some streets to make them one way. But I don't know if a check-in with us or with the staff and once a year addresses those kinds of issues for the public. Like, where do they go if it's not working?
Probably their city council representative. Once it's an operating school, that would be my suggestion.
I mean, or right to the city's traffic engineer.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest. But, if you want that to be somehow formalized, that, the traffic engineer has to evaluate it and report on it.
After the first 6 months and then every year thereafter, something along those lines.
I mean, we could try to fashion something like that.
That'd make me feel a lot better about it. Because all these are hypotheticals.
I just want to say, the architect made it sound like, oh, we're just collapsing 2 schools. No, you're not. You are taking a middle school that gets out and gets in at a totally different time that's on another street. and adding it to a school that is on a different street that gets out and in at a different time. You're doubling the occupancy of a building, so you're putting 1,000 bodies, the size of the population projected at Mount Pleasant High School. You're putting 1,000 bodies in what could probably be the worst traffic corner on the west side because of the highway right there. And so you have 1,000 bodies that are gonna be coming out of that school at the same time. And even if they, in Paul Cuffey, I mean, forget it. What do they have, 50 kids? It doesn't matter. I mean, even if you stagger that, you have 1,000 bodies leaving that school. Just let that sink in. It's not just, oh, we're collapsing two schools. It's a middle school and an elementary school plus a preschool. You've got the exit where the parents come out. It doesn't come out to a four-way. It comes out to a weird, it's because Messer Street isn't actually adjacent to it, so you can't go straight. You have to jog over and turn. I'm not convinced that the traffic study is thorough enough. I'm not convinced that the plan is good enough. And I think that I just don't see anything good coming out of this as is.
Is the variance for the height coming kind of like in conjunction with the public space, like the preservation of that? I'm just wondering if there's like a way to address what we're talking about through, like, can there be more access created in a portion of that public space while still granting the height variance?
What do you mean, like more
Like
vehicular?
Yeah, like instead of having, I mean, what Sid is saying is right. And it's not just about convenience of parking, it's a safety concern. And to have someone be injured or killed, I mean, we have essentially the same driveway with more traffic. We're not really changing the access to the site. Yes, you're changing the site and how it's used, but the driveway on Westminster is at the core of the issue. And you have bike paths, you have crosswalks.
But they're not just adding more vehicles into I don't know how the traffic count would work. The buses are not going now into that same parking lot where the passenger vehicles are. So that has changed based on the design.
Right, but the buses do pull up on.
On Barton, not on Westminster.
Yeah, so that's not really, I mean, the buses are on Barton right now for the most part anyway,
They pull into the parking lot.
not in the afternoons. They're on the street.
Oh. I've seen them pull in the mornings, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, in the mornings, but not in the afternoons or on the street. So it's not, I just feel like it's maybe not enough of a difference, and I would hate to have like a change be forced because someone was injured or killed. Is there a way to go create like an in and then an out onto Barton where you could route traffic to the left and then onto Broadway to exit? Is there a way to kind of, I know I'm talking about a big change.
Yeah, and like asking for us to engineer their traffic plan is not really.
I'm just wondering, like, like, we have pulled things out of the votes before to like kind of redress the question and then improved other parts so things can move forward. I understand it's a big notion. I'm concerned that we're not making significant enough of a change to the flow of traffic to alleviate or prevent injury.
I mean, I think that's why I'm proposing is the check-in, because I don't think we're going to solve it, and I don't think that anything on paper will be a surefire answer.
Right.
Until it's in operation and they figure out how it's going to work.
So we're
I
3
think
to
I
4
would
years away
prefer, I would prefer to have something before construction. Not now, not today, but.
Have an
better-
approved traffic
traffic
plan at
plan.
the final plan stage and then following. Have some sort of more refined submission at final plan.
Cause if we approve it, then we won't see it again, right?
Well, no matter what, we won't see it again. Yeah, right. Like the final plan doesn't come back to us anymore.
And it'll be too late too. I think that's probably part of the concern is that after construction to then say shift something, for example, on Barton, it may not be possible anymore. So it would have to be, I'm not saying I agree, but if that's gonna be a concern that we're gonna take under now, they need to come up with some type of alternative plans or something to present, because otherwise.
I think my concern in that is that I mean, we talked about the funding
timing,
schedule and
yeah.
timing, and if we don't approve this right now, I don't think the school gets built, and I want better schools for our students here in Providence, so I wanna work within the confines of they meet the criteria to approve this plan based on the law and the findings of fact. I want to make sure that we have mechanisms in place to address this while it's implemented and allow them to continue on with their.
Right, that's what I was talking about, like, where the baseball field is on Barton and we can see like an entrance in
Right.
school, like, is there a way to kind of offer up some of that public space to address some of these concerns?
I don't think we can tell them they need to put their traffic in here without having an engineer tell us that's a good idea. We can't redesign their entrance, their ingress and egress to their site just right now as a condition of approval. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound like a good.
No, I don't think you could require that.
Yeah.
In just looking at that site and how you might possibly get vehicles through it, I think, you know, I don't think there's space to get, unless they completely reconfigured the baseball field, I don't think there's space to get vehicles out to Broadway. I think you're too close to the off ramp, and I think you're too close to the bike path and the playing field. You know, maybe there's an opportunity to have traffic circle around behind and go to Barton. I don't know if they're planning on keeping that little playground back there. I guess, you know, there are 3 commission members here, 4, I guess, that have a lot of personal knowledge about how all of this functions, and I think you've made it very clear what your concerns and reservations are. You know, at this moment, the city has made a decision that they're gonna build the school here. And the question is, you know, how is it ultimately gonna be executed with respect to traffic flow? And if there are problems that arise, how is the city going to be held accountable? And I think the mechanism is through communication and course correction through the city traffic engineer. This is gonna be handed, you know, when this building is done, it's gonna be handed over to the city.
Right.
And then it's gonna be the city's job to manage that. In conjunction with RIDOT, because Westminster is a state road.
Right.
And the signals, you know, at the highway are RIDOT signals. So RIDOT has an interest in maintaining traffic flow as well. So there are undoubtedly gonna be traffic engineers that are gonna continue to evaluate this. I think as Sid said, even with school not in session, this whole area is congested with traffic. I think what that means is that the highway is probably the biggest traffic generator in this area. And what tends to happen is, as places become more congested, as Noel said, you see different routes, you don't travel in a particular area at a particular time, and then if traffic is eased, then maybe more people come to the area. So I think that it's gonna be congested. Whether there's a school here or not, whether there's a school of this size here or not, it's gonna be congested. It just needs to be something that gets very seriously managed every day, twice a day.
So I don't like doing this at this stage, but I think I need to use the restroom, so I think maybe we take a 10-minute break right now.
Yeah.
And regroup, don't talk about this with anyone while we step away. I think Lev has some sandwiches. But I drank too much water, so we'll take a 10-minute break and we'll come back at 7:25.
My kids almost don't on that track, on the bars, whether it's skateboarding. That's what they used to skateboard, you know, that's where they learn. You know, they ride on skateboards on bars.
Okay, we're gonna call this meeting of the City Plan Commission back to order. It is 7:26 now. I think maybe, at this point, we've had a lot of discussion. Maybe we call the applicant back up real quick to, hear from them. They've heard what we had to say. Let's hear their thoughts, and then we can go back to deliberations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe DeSanti again with Downs Construction. So, yeah, we've been listening, and I think that you have referenced it a couple times. The Spaziano School is a perfect example of a project that we've continued to work with the city and Providence Public Schools after it's open and operational. And I can tell you, in fact, Spaziano has been back there at least 2 or 3 times with changing some no parking areas, changing direction of, during school hours, one-way signage. So I could tell you with a great deal of certainty that the city of Providence and Providence Public Schools will be acceptable to checking in. And not only will they will continue to do it anyways, because operationally on their school, once they open it up, things do change. They do find different ways that helps with the traffic and the operation throughout the neighborhood. And as I said, Spaziano Elementary School is a perfect example where we opened it up and then they operated it. And after the first year, they determined that there's improvements they could have done. And we've even done more improvements since then.
That makes me feel a little bit better. Knowing that you're continually iterating once it's open, because the situation on the ground does change. I mean, obviously traffic patterns change. People's behaviors change, so I think that's probably very important to continue to do. Commissioners, do you have any specific questions now that the applicant's back up to direct towards them?
Mr. Chair, maybe Joe can respond to questions about the feasibility of creating a vehicular path to the north up to Broadway.
That's a great.
Yep, so we did explore that initially, because we were looking for an option to be able to loop out of the project, which is something we always try to do as well. There are some significant concerns, again, with the grading and with the highway being there and the bicycle path. There is only one small, potentially narrow area that we could potentially get a driveway through, and it's just not big enough to get through traffic through. There's a big grade change in that area. Our other concern is that soil on certain parts of that site are environmentally impacted, which would mean a significant cost to remove that soil and disturb it. So at that point, we came to the conclusion that it just was not going to be feasible to be able to bring a driveway through that area.
That speaks a little bit to your suggestion, Rachel.
I was thinking of looping around to Barton, not to Broadway.
But I think that's what you just stated.
Yeah,
Right?
I said the Broadway, but to Barton would even be more difficult because that grade change is probably 8 or 10 feet to Barton Street. So that would even be more difficult to get the cars up and around. And then you would create just a bigger problem on Barton with cars coming in and out of that as well. We did not explore that just because it would be very difficult to get a vehicle out of if you recall how low that parking lot is behind, to get back up into Barton is a significant change in that short. Yeah. Yep. And just for a point of clarity, the buses that are there now or have been there, those are Paul Coffey buses. Those Providence Public School has never had buses on Barton Street. So the buses you do see there are not Providence Public School buses.
Oh, that's actually, that's a good to know. So it is a true reduction of vehicles, even if it's just the buses versus the passenger vehicles and more overall people.
I have another question. Would you give any consideration to running the buses through the parking lot rather than the passenger cars? For the reasons that I talked about earlier, being that you can control which way the buses turn out of the parking lot, whereas parents are gonna go left, right, and I mean, you could mandate with the buses that they all turn right and then loop around at the bottom at Louisville. Or you can mandate that, you have a lot more flexibility over telling the buses how to get out versus passenger cars that might try to jog across to get on. That's where the danger comes in to me, is that people come out of that parking lot and they're like, I'm gonna make a quick left and then a quick right, and I'm gonna hop onto Messer Street, and it's like, and then you have kids trying to cross, and that seems really dangerous. So to me, it seems that if you have the buses coming out, at least it's a big giant yellow bus all turning in one direction, and it eliminates that level of chaos there.
I think it's something we could explore. I think we did explore it at one point. I think one of the problems was queuing all the buses there, so we would have to make some revisions to that drive. We would still want to get the pre-K parents down that same driveway, so it'd be shared with the pre-K parents. But we've done that in other schools too, where you can switch off where the parent drop off is and where the buses are. So, but that is something we could go back and explore.
Because if you take that right onto Westminster Street, you literally can loop right back around up to Broadway through Onlyville around that corner. And at least that way you're getting the traffic out of that congested area. And then they go where they go.
But would that be something in the annual checkup that could be addressed?
Well, I mean, yeah, it could be
Yeah.
a suggestion to look into, to continue to refine in that first item that we say, you know, like this, they just said they would look into it, so we can make that a condition, as looking into it, coming up with something to submit with their final plan that the DPD staff can review. And then I think, you know, a 6-month and then annual check-ins thereafter would be prudent, based on the amount of discussion we've had about this. I mean, ideally, I'd love them to align Messer and Barden Street. That would alleviate a lot of issues, but that's not realistic either.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, I think that it would happen even before the 6-month. What we've seen is many of these schools open and there's that tweaking and changing at that time, because once they become operational, they see exactly what's happening. And they've made some adjustments then, and then usually during the next school year, they'll make even further adjustments at that point. So you typically do see some adjustments early on and then another adjustment that next full school year.
Yep.
So again, I don't think it's a big ask, and I think that they, like I said, the city and Providence Public Schools would be open to that.
Should we make it 3 months and then annual thereafter? I mean, 3 months is probably enough time of operation to really get a feeling once it's in operation. That would be right around the Christmas break, the holiday break.
It'd take 3 days.
What's that?
3 days.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I don't know, we can continue to discuss and refine that. Anything else for the applicant while they're up here again? Okay, thank you. That was helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, now that I can breathe again. So I guess this is still in front of us as a land development project. And I'm in support of moving this forward with some safeguards and some conditions. So to do that, we would need to start taking some actions on the little things before we get to the big thing. And I think the first step would be discussing the granting of the waivers of submission from the state approvals at the preliminary plan stage, subject to the condition that they be submitted at the permitting stage. As discussed, it's good planning practice to do so. We do it on a regular basis.
Because traffic isn't overseen by the state, is that saying?
RIDOT has to approve it, and you know what, the Department of Education has to approve it too, but.
But that's not one of the approvals they're asking
That's
to
not,
waive.
no,
No.
because they don't have a PAPA that they have to physically get approved.
So I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? All right, we have a fully formed motion. We'll go around and do a vote. Noel?
I'll vote aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Sid?
I,
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Permanent extension, yes. The second, now that we've approved the requested waiver, we can vote that they meet the criteria to combine the stages, so we would vote to combine the master and preliminary plan approval. Seeing it as good planning practice and having done it in previous situations like this.
So moved.
All right, we have a vote. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Sid?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Now, the third would be, the dimensional adjustment. As requested, finding that it meets the criteria for us to grant it, both public open space and the unique characterization of the lot as evidenced in the findings of the staff report and the discussion and testimony from the applicant and our discussions surrounding that as well. Sharon, does that?
With regard to the dimensional adjustments, you do need to, in the record, the findings specifically with regard to the dimensional adjustments, that it meets the criteria for dimensional adjustment.
Yeah, that's. I did that based on the discussion and the findings laid out in the staff report.
But also in the ordinance. You also need to include that it meets the specific criteria of the zoning.
In section 1904.8.1.
In section 1904.8.1, A and C of the ordinance. That's part of my motion, or whoever's motion would move that forward.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Are we not, is this where we put the conditions that we want?
No, this is just the dimension. This
The
is
first
for,
one.
This is just for the 54
This is-
feet versus the 50.
Okay.
I'll second.
all right, we'll go around and do a voice vote for the dimensional adjustment of 54 feet where 50 is allowed. Noel,
I vote aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Charlotte,
Aye.
Sid,
No.
Miguel,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Now we're on to the land development project because we've gotten through the first three. So if someone were to make a motion to approve the master and preliminary plans, subject to the conditions that the applicant and their traffic engineers shall work with the city traffic engineer on implementation of the recommendations in the traffic memo. And also have a review of actual operations and functionality of traffic movements and pinch points with the city traffic engineer. Can we say DPW or DPD?
Yes.
Okay, and DPD, because I'd like Bob or his delegate there as well. After 3 months of operation and an annual thereafter.
Any other condition?
Oh, yes. Is that good for that?
Yes.
Okay. That's number one. Number two, street tree plantings shall be subject to the city forester's review. The applicant shall consider an alternative to paving the surrounding sidewalks with brick, as discussed, and the drainage plan shall be subject to the city engineer's approval. Now, I should amend that by saying, based on the findings in the staff report, the discussion, the testimony, and the compliance with the comprehensive plan and zoning as outlined in the staff report.
So for clarity, so considering an alternative for the sidewalk, who is it that said that?
That came from our Department of Public Works. They like to see a uniform concrete used on sidewalks. Because for them, maintaining brick sidewalks is really challenging.
That's an area of a lot of traffic, foot traffic. Brick sidewalks tend to get uneven.
Yes, I think that's their concern, right?
And so
maintenance and upkeep.
But we're just asking them to consider an alternative. We're not telling them that they have to do anything different.
You could make it a condition I'm seeing that the applicant wouldn't object to making that a
All
condition.
right, so then
That's a shall.
let's change the remove the word consider. Shall implement an alternative to paving the surrounding sidewalks with brick. How about that?
Or you could just say the applicant shall pave the surrounding sidewalks with concrete.
That sounds better.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, you got that, Joanne?
Yep.
Okay, that would be a motion if one were put forward.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel?
I don't know. Can I abstain from this one? Do I have to vote no or yes?
It would be better if you
If
don't,
I didn't.
if you don't abstain. We've got 6 of you here, so we do need 4 votes to approve. And I will just, as a city official representing the planning department and the city, I just want to implore to you that this is important for the city, that we move this forward. It's not by any means perfect, but I think that with the conditions that you're imposing, it does hold the city's feet to the fire with respect to traffic planning.
Okay, oh, boy, yes.
I'm sorry, Bob, I just don't know how you can say that without the state at the table, given that Westminster Street is a state. And it's the high, you know what I mean, like this, the state has to be a major partner in whatever happens here, and I'm just not hearing that in the conditions or what you said. I mean, I'll stop.
Would you prefer if that first condition was amended to include RIDOT?
I don't see how it doesn't. Didn't you say they control the signal? I mean, and
They control the timing of the signal. They'd have to be coordinated with, but it would come from either traffic and engineering.
You could certainly add that traffic engineering study include consultation with RIDOT.
So can I amend the motion to include RIDOT as a stakeholder for the first condition? Coordination with traffic engineers, DPD, and implementation of the traffic memo that was already presented and any foreseen issues on traffic.
So shall work with the city engineer and RIDOT on implementation of the recommendations?
And DPD, right?
And yeah, with traffic and engineering, yeah,
Mm.
and DPD.
So I amended the motion. Need a second.
All right, we have an amended motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a fully formed motion. And we'll go around with the voice vote again. Noel? Aye. Rachel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Sid?
no.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along to the next item, which is a minor land development project request for an extension. Oh, we go to an easier one. Well, okay, actually, it's 27 East River Street. Maybe it's not so easy.
Yeah. Okay, we've got Dylan Conley online here to make this request. I will note that we've been told that they're on the verge of submitting their preliminary plan submission. They were hoping to meet the deadline for November. It looks like December is more probable for this particular one, but so it's likely that you'll see this sooner rather than later. But with that, maybe Attorney Conley can elaborate. Can you hear us, Dylan?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Basically, as outlined by Bob, we were very close, but weren't able to get us all the way across the finish line in terms of a complete submission. In particular, some changes to the building have made some edits to the renderings necessary in order to be accurate, and we haven't been able to complete that just yet. But we were very much almost able to submit this past week. It's a complicated building, it's a tricky site, very large building. So all of those things combined, we requested a 1-year extension. We don't think we need the full year, but there are other state agencies involved, and I never want to basically say we'll be there tomorrow and then miss that mark again, right? So the request is for a full year.
Okay, any reason why it can't be 6 months? As we've been regularly doing with projects that are close to the finish line.
I don't have anything which directly leads me to believe that we can't meet a 6-month mark. No, it's just large, complicated projects, imposing deadlines on ourselves, that it just seems that if I was to buy insurance, I'd buy more, not less.
Oh, understood. You always ask for more.
Yep.
But sometimes deadlines, light a fire and make sure they get done. Commissioners, any thoughts, any questions for Attorney
Is
Conley?
the project on the river?
It is. I want to see it in front of us. I want it in 6 months or less. I'm in favor of 6 months, I think, especially if they're that close to submitting. I don't think they need a full year.
And this is something that came before the board before?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so they have preliminary plan approval. And they're asking to extend that preliminary plan approval. It's a large residential development along the river, just past Waterman Grill.
Right. And then when was that first presented, or?
Well, obviously a year ago.
It was
Yeah.
meant to expire in November.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was before my time, so I'm trying
Yeah.
to familiarize myself. Okay. And the applicant sees no issue with 6 months, but would prefer more time.
He's a good attorney. He's always asking for more. More than they may need.
Advocacy is literally my job.
Yeah. This isn't a public hearing, so we don't have to take public comment. We can.
No, we could just go into a motion.
Go into a motion and approve it at this point. So if anyone's in favor.
I'll make a motion to grant them a year extension.
A year?
A year.
Oh, you're gonna do 6 months.
Well, no, you were. 6 months.
Well played.
I'll do a year.
Well played. All right.
But if somebody wants to make.
We have a
months,
motion for
I'll
6
back
months,
mine.
or we have a motion for a year, excuse me. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we'll go around and do a vote. Noel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Sid?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
I'll vote aye,
You could have gone.
Thank
to,
you all very much.
but I hope to see you back sooner, Dylan.
You could have gone to. a discussion.
I would love if this was ready next month now. It would just make it all.
All right, on to the next agenda item number 4, it's referral number 3603-205 Union Ave and 109 Cumerford Street. The sponsor is Councilman Vargas, who I know was here earlier. He must have had.
Yeah, he was here and he wanted me to relay that as the sponsor, obviously he supports this, but he put it in on behalf of a constituent. I know that we have a representative here, and I think we also have someone online to speak to it.
Okay.
Maybe Choyan, you want to do
Wanna
it
tee it up?
very quick?
Yeah, sure. So commissioners, real quick, this is a request to rezone the 2 subject lots, which are used as an auto repair business from C2 to C3. So they have been cited as that use is not permitted in that zone. And their intent in requesting the change to C3 is to allow this use to operate by right. And so I guess the applicant's here and they'll tell you more about why this is being requested.
And before that, I just want to make a couple of statements about this. There had been a request to change the zoning of this during the comprehensive planning process. This area here that you're seeing on the map was C1. And you'll recall that through the comprehensive planning process, all the C1 areas became C2. Under the old zoning ordinance, auto repair was permitted by special use permit in C2. And I think the owners were hoping that with the change to C2, they'd be able to get a special use permit. But what also happened during the comprehensive plan is we removed the special use permit for auto repair in C2. So just as they got their map change, the ordinance kind of pulled the rug out from under them. Nevertheless, I think that it is an important consideration that, you know, that we discuss this matter here. What's going on is that this was permitted, I believe, as maybe like a car wash or something, and then the current owners turned it into essentially a tire shop, and maybe more than tire repairs. The applicant can explain a little bit more, but I think one of the big concerns you see we've got M1 industrial across the street here, M1, and then C2, and
What's yellow for?
yellow is actually it's 3-family residential. So here's our biggest concern. First of all, you're not supposed to be storing material outside. And you can see obviously that you know they got a big pile of tires here. They put up some fencing adjacent to the residence, which they're supposed to do anyway. They've also kind of surrounded this with I think they're shipping containers actually. Yeah, and they're kind of containing this. This is not acceptable. This would not be even in C3. This would not be allowed, and that's why in our report we believe that the zoning change should be conditioned on them coming into all of the use requirements for this type of use. And I think that's all I wanted to say. Maybe we could have the applicant identify herself and elaborate any more than what I've said.
So just real quick point of clarification for the screening to the abutting neighbor, I know is like that. It's chain link with some like fabric or something on it, which doesn't really screen it. So we would be saying they need to clean up this area, remove the storage containers, because are those allowed to be there?
They're not.
But the food truck can, right?
The food truck is allowed.
Okay. I was looking at this earlier and I thought, but I don't want to get rid of that.
Yeah, and I could tell you just I'd like to maybe read the use standards. If you bear with me just for a second, 1202 double B. Okay, so the use standards for vehicle repair and service is that all repair and service operations shall be performed within a fully enclosed building. All equipment and parts shall be stored indoors. We do allow for small, like tire racks that you might see sort of directly in front of a storefront, but not this kind of thing. Vehicle dealers, the facility shall be screened along interior side and rear lot lines with a solid wall or fence, a minimum of 5 feet and a maximum of 7 feet in height. So we're talking about this property line here and this property line here. They also have some fencing with barbed wire. We would want that to go away. We don't allow barbed wire. And then finally, no, two more, no partially dismantled, wrecked or unlicensed vehicle shall be stored outdoors on the premises. And then no motor vehicle shall be stored, no repair work shall be conducted within the public right of way. So basically, everything's gotta happen inside of a building and you can't use the street. I don't see any evidence that they're using the street to perform any vehicle repairs, but that's the kind of thing you see all the time. And it is a problem. So,
And those tires are right along that fence line. of
I
that
think that's
residential
yeah, I mean, that,
property.
that is an issue, that we, I can maybe, show folks on, on Google Maps here, just to give you a sense of what it looks like from the residential lot here. Here's Cumerford is the street of houses, as you see, and then this is sort of the condition here. This is a good fence, you know, that's good. I don't,
But that's the neighbor's fence,
that's,
right?
yeah, I guess that's.
Yeah,
the
so,
neighbor's.
so the
This-
inside fence
this-
is the,
We don't want this, we don't want this,
obviously the neighbor's annoyed by it because they put up a really nice fence so they don't have to look at it.
and then there would need to be, this fencing right here would need to be, there would need to be a solid fence here along this lot line. And again, you know, you can see some evidence here that maybe there's some repair that's happening outside that's not permitted under the use standards. Lots of tires.
That's a lot of tires.
Okay, so I know we've got, I believe Peter Casali is a consultant, but maybe again, we can have the applicant identify herself and expand on what we've said.
Good evening. Well, hang on one second. I don't know if it is.
Turn it on. Sometimes it turns off
Yeah.
if it hasn't been used for a little while.
Meeting so bad.
Maybe you could just speak up, Magali. Yeah.
I got here at 4, so good evening, everyone. Like you explained everything very, very well. I don't think I can add that much. At the moment, the containers seem like a really good idea because obviously we don't want the containers to get stolen. So, and that's what we're trying to do. We just want to comply with everything the zoning department saying because we don't have any problems or anything.
So you would propose that you'd be building an enclosure for,
Yeah.
but in order to pull a building permit, it needs to be okay, but it probably need a compliant use to be able to pull a building permit for it.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Peter, you're joining us online?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add to this?
Oh, I just, in the progressive steps, the zone change would be crucial to put us in an allowed use group category. Since, as Bob mentioned, we lost the ability to get the special use permit under C2. So moving forward, the intent of the owners has been for quite some time to clean it up, get the enclosures built. Bob did mention the tire racks. I think that's just one or two that they would wheel outside when they open and then put them back in the bays overnight. They, other than the tire storage area, they keep a pretty clean corner there. It's a prominent corner, very busy street, and they're just looking for help getting that first step to compliance.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant?
What would the minimum structure requirements be to house the tires? Is that just kind of like a metal building with 4 walls and a roof?
It would, yeah, it would have to have 4 walls and a roof. C3 is pretty liberal in terms of building setbacks, so we don't require we don't require like built at the street, and we don't require like proper storefronts or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Simple structure.
It could be a pretty rudimentary
But
structure.
it's not like a carport type thing with open sides or,
That's right.
okay, just wanted to check. For me, I would just see it's an opportunity to maybe add some more tree plantings, especially where fencing is going up.
When you hear the staff report, that's
great.
discussed in it.
Excellent.
Yeah, go ahead.
We already, did like a special approaches and everything in the front, and so Vargas is working with us. Building like the motor side, bringing everything. I'm on my board.
That is a good point, because it's the first thing you think of when you look at that, is that it could be a tree or two there. Noel, Miguel, Sid, Charlotte, anything for the applicant?
No.
All right, let's hear the staff
I guess
report.
my question would be, what would the process look like? We approve the request or the recommendation, but
Yeah.
what's the process going forward?
Yeah, so your action on this is an advisory recommendation to the city council. This would need to have a public hearing at the city council level, which is conducted by the ordinance committee. And your recommendation would be forwarded to that ordinance committee. I go to those meetings, I read it into the record, and then they can accept or not. But the fact is that they're already, this will be kind of self-fulfilling, because they're under violation, and in whatever they do needs to comply with the zoning ordinance. So changing the zoning gets them part of the way there. They then need to meet those other criteria that are in the zoning ordinance. So when we say they have to bring it into conformance with section 1202 AA, they have to do that anyway.
Where do the tires go while the building's being built?
I think that's an operational question for the owner.
Do they have to be removed in order for like?
Well, she said they wheel them in, didn't she?
Excuse me. Sure. So.
Oh, you can speak in the mic. I think it's working now.
Yeah, it is working now. Sorry, I forgot. So we live at the line with Connecticut, like almost an hour from here, and we have 11.7 acres, and we have the shipping containers. Until all that is done, we can ship everything in our house. We have enough room to storage stuff for like 2-3 months until the sheds or things are done.
Great, thank you.
You ready for the staff?
Yeah, staff report.
Yeah, sure. So commissioners, as you did see, this is a site where you have a number of zoning designations as well as different land use designations recognized by the future land use map of the comprehensive plan. And given that they include business as well as commercial, we do believe that it is conceivable that they could continue and to operate this use, provided that they conform to section 1202 AA of the ordinance pertaining to standards for vehicle repair and service. As we discussed, this would include making changes like screening the property, removing barbed wire, enclosing the tires, meeting the canopy coverage requirement for the site, and as well as ensuring that no vehicle repair occurs outside the garage. And they can document these changes by applying for a zoning certificate of compliance. And once they've done that, we would be able to make a positive finding in accordance with section 101 of the ordinance, which would be that this would not negatively affect health, safety, and welfare. So based on that, we would recommend that you make a positive recommendation to the city council, subject to these conditions, that they obtain the zoning certificate of compliance for the required changes prior to appearing before the public hearing, and that they meet the canopy coverage requirement under the supervision of the city forester.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. While this isn't technically a public comment situation, we always like to give the public a chance to comment. So we will open up public comment for this agenda item at this time. If there's anyone who would like to speak on this, we've already had Councilman Vargas through his proxy and is sponsoring of this give his support. Is there anyone else here in the room or in the virtual room who wishes to speak on this matter? And seeing none, we will close that portion of the agenda item. No, you had a comment?
Is there a permeability, permeable surface requirement in C3?
There is not.
About C2?
There is not. There are, the landscaping requirements do require a landscape buffer around the perimeter where it's, where any parking areas are up against the public right of way. So that would be part of the compliance with landscaping.
So there has to be a permeable buffer.
Correct.
Basically.
Yes.
It couldn't be in all in containers. Well, just it's all paved over the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's not the ideal condition. I mean, we say shall meet the canopy coverage requirement. If you wanted to make an additional recommendation that it meet the landscape buffer requirement, you could.
It's not required to be fenced in or anything, the business?
It's not, just along the side lot lines.
Okay. Because
Yeah, I mean,
there's no repair supposed to be happening on the outside of the building.
There's no
Well, it's just for safety, right, for safety and access to for the public. The kid could walk through that lot and get hurt, because it's not, that's on Union Avenue, right by. Yeah, kids go there, pass through there, go to school and stuff, but. Okay, well, if it's not required, it's not required, I just.
Yeah.
And strange to me.
Again, we're making a recommendation to the city council. But I'd be in support of adding the applicant shall meet the canopy coverage and landscape buffer requirements under the supervision of the city forester. I mean, that's not a bad recommendation to have in, you know, when it goes to city council.
Okay.
I don't want to put them out of business. I want to make it feasible for them to operate, but I do want them to come into compliance, so. Any other discussions, thoughts?
So that landscape buffer would be basically along the edges that border a sidewalk,
That's right.
except for where the curb
Cuts are, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
and maybe, well, I don't know. Maybe it's next to the food truck, maybe it's not.
Well,
It would
That's where it would be.
Yeah, okay.
Because the sidewalk is right there along both sides on Cumerford and Union.
I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendation, subject to those conditions. That they bring the site into conformance with section 1202 AA of the ordinance. And obtain a zoning certificate for the changes, and that they meet the canopy coverage requirement and the landscape buffer requirement under the supervision of the city forester.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll go around and do a vote. Noel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Sid?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting around so long to speak with us. And sorry. If you wait another, however long it takes us to get through the last agenda item, we can give you a cupcake.
And an hour right home.
Oh, gosh. All right, moving on to the last agenda item is the design standards presentation, presentation of updated design and development regulations.
Okay, so I'm gonna take us through this very briefly. You'll recall that the comprehensive plan had a goal here that we, okay, yeah, why is that not here? I tell you what, I'm just gonna leave it like this. Uh, Comprehensive plan, here, let's go here. Comprehensive plan had a requirement that we convene a group to help with building design standards. This was in the built environment section of the comprehensive plan. And so we did that. We convened more than a dozen stakeholders, and we had staffing services from planning and development and from inspection and standards. Those included myself, Lev, Chris Issei, Jason Martin from the planning staff, and Alexis Thompson from inspection and standards. And this group had some architects, some large-scale developers, small-scale developers, some builders, and a representative of a community member, and also a representative of the Providence Preservation Society. And here's the mission, that we wanted advice on new design standards for development in residential and neighborhood commercial areas. The goal is improving design quality without unnecessarily increasing the cost of new development or length of time for a project to be reviewed. And so we had 6 meetings between June and August, and we're now here with some proposed regulations. So the challenges, I think, were pretty clearly identified early on. We've got 2 examples on the left in the middle of houses, I think, newer houses that don't really meet the mark, and a good example of new infill development on the right. And I'm not positive about this, but the one on the right I know is in a historic district. And I think the builder of that might also be the builder of one of the other ones.
Congress Avenue.
Yeah, that's on Congress Avenue, yeah. And so, sorry, just a quick second. So some of the issues here are the elevation of the entrance above grade, the use of unfinished pressure treated material on stairs and landings, the lack of proper window trim, no lattice work under the stairs, giving it an unfinished kind of a look, and so forth. So the standards that we're proposing, first of all, this first one is more or less unchanged. That a new dwelling, when we talk about a dwelling, we're talking about the residential building itself, and dwelling units are within the dwelling. But we want a primary entrance, and we want it visible from the front of the building. We added this criterion that it be within 20 feet of the facade, because we don't want someone to put an entrance all the way at the back of the building. It still might be visible from the street, but it's really not, it's not, sort of a proper primary entrance. We want to put a maximum of 5 feet above the ground for that entrance, to avoid what you see on the left here, this kind of like extreme elevation, which has happened a lot. If you're going to use pressure treated wood, it can't be left unfinished. We give some options for what can be. It can be, it can be wrapped, it can be painted, but it can't be left unfinished. And then you need to have some kind of screening under the porches, stairs, or landings. And then we refine some of our language around blank walls. We specify that they shouldn't exceed 12 linear feet. We maintain the 15% transparency on the fronts, but we've added 10% on the sides because they're often visible from the right of way, and blank walls on the sides of buildings sometimes can be just as jarring as on the front. We put a 10% transparency facade, or the maximum allowed by building code, because sometimes as you get close to a lot line, you're going to be restricted in how much transparency. We had several standards that we're applying to vinyl siding because overwhelmingly the sort of poorest quality design is when vinyl siding is used. And a lot of the issues are that they're not using any of the typical kind of detail that we see in traditional houses. So first of all, we don't want them doing anything that's too exotic. It should be clapboard, shingle, or board and batten design. We want to see sills, window trims, we want to see casings. And we want to see corner boards. Okay, and then for multifamilies or row houses, we have some sort of more general standards about using, speaking to building materials and treatments and so forth. These are already in the standards. Then we talked a lot about larger buildings in commercial zones and including mixed-use buildings. Same sort of issues, not effectively engaging the street, using poor quality materials and so forth. We show this as an example. We kind of beat up on this building a little bit in our committee. There's a lot going on here. I mean, I think there's this building could be vastly simplified and things would be a lot better. At any rate, we have these C2 design standards. These already exist. We have all these standards relating to facades. We have all these standards relating to building entry. We have the standards relating to fenestration. So we're not proposing any changes there. We think the standards are solid. But what we are proposing is that we, again, we have standards around roof, standards around building materials. All this stuff is pretty solid. And it's very similar to what the standards that we have for downtown. The thing about downtown, though, is that there's a lot more attention paid to design at both the board level, but also importantly at the staff level. And we do have professional staff who are very good at communicating sort of design intent for new buildings so that they can be consistent with what's around them, but also a high quality of design. So again, I'm just reviewing the standards here, but so this is new for apartments and mixed-use buildings. For all land development projects, a staff level design review session is required to evaluate compliance with design standards and suggest improvements that could be made. The staff person conducting the review is required to file a report with the City Plan Commission. And then completely, kind of tangential to design, but as part of implementing the built environment section of the comp plan, we suggest adding to the list of amenities that would make a project eligible for a height bonus, buildings in which there's no fossil fuel combustion. And that was something that was discussed at the City Plan Commission. So at any rate, this is where we are. I think this first bullet is worth talking about just for a minute. I think there's a lot of value that can be gained by bringing a developer in and having a conversation about design. And also, you know, we don't want there to be one conversation happening at the staff level and a completely separate conversation having it at the board level. We don't want to give them, you know, a certain direction and then have that overruled or contradicted at the board level. And as we know, design can have a certain degree of subjectivity to it. And we want this to be, we want to be sending a clear and consistent message to the developers. So this idea of having the staff person report to you when the projects are coming to you will help, I think, you understand the intention that the staffer was trying to get to, and a little bit of the sort of give and take that happens through this design route. It's not to say that you don't have the ultimate authority, but at least there would be some of that reasoning that hopefully you'd understand as you were reviewing the project.
Can I ask a question? Because I think this is really good, and well, we've talked about it already because I was on the design review committee, but or the design standards group that met, and I guess my one question that I'm just thinking of now is it feasible for that staff report of the design process to be issued with the staff reports, like, you know, whatever it is, a week or
Yes.
4 days or whatever?
We would incorporate it into the staff report.
So it won't just come to us like at the hearing?
No.
Okay.
We would,
Yeah.
it would be a new section in the staff report.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, that's good. Again, I echo the same sentiment. I think it's great. It's adding that review or discussion without adding a significant extra time-consuming step or, you know, another regulating body to do it. It's the same process. It's part of the same application process. Was there any discussion of any other changes to the bonuses other than this? Because we've talked about additional canopy coverage, we've talked about stormwater, we've talked about a lot of other ideas
The stormwater.
here in this meeting, and I just want to know if that's gotten any traction outside of our discussions.
Yeah, so that was something that we talked about, stormwater in particular. And my response to that is that we are concurrently in conjunction with the Department of Public Works, looking at new stormwater standards that are going to be mandatory, and that will have broader application.
Even under lots of under 10,000 square feet?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
Well, then if that's the case,
Yeah,
then
I mean, I think if that's mandated, it's probably better.
it's better. Yeah, then it's a requirement and not like a bonus.
Yeah.
I would rather it be required too, but there's so many applicants that we see that are exempt from anything. And in those cases, I'd want that to be maybe an incentive.
Yeah, as it turns out, we've also been having conversations with the Narragansett Bay Commission and trying to understand their requirements. That's been a little bit of a black box. But as it turns out, most projects are going to be in one way, directly or indirectly, discharging stormwater into Narragansett Bay's system. And they have a mandate that no new stormwater flow come into their system. And whenever there's a development, they actually want to reduce the stormwater flow from the site. Their requirements are, it ends up being a bit of a negotiation as to, you know, what's the best that they can possibly do on the site. But we're in conversation with them. We're gonna convene a meeting with our Department of Public Works and the Narragansett Bay Commission to try and get on the same page. And I think we're gonna see some progress on stormwater standards and trying to close some of these loopholes that we're finding.
Are all of the stormwater receptacles within the city overseen by either the city or Narragansett Bay Commission?
Just
There's no
about.
DOT.
There is some DOT,
Okay, I thought
like some of the
there's-
stuff that comes off of the highway goes into DOT,
Right.
Detention basins and so forth. But overwhelmingly, it's city and NBC,
Okay.
and a lot of the city stuff feeds into NBC. There,
Okay.
there are occasionally some city stormwater facilities that stay with the city until it hits the river. Those are the ones where there's no treatment whatsoever.
Right.
If someone's exempt from NBC because they're going into a city system, there's probably gonna be more of a negative impact on waterways from that than there would be if it goes into NBC, even with, occasional overflows.
But even understanding that no new flow is the standard, current flows right now are flooding streets and heavy rain events.
Yeah.
So we need to find a way to reduce.
We need to reduce,
Yeah.
and there are some other conversations that have been happening for some time about the possibility that there might be, maybe a stormwater district that disincentivizes paving through charging based on impervious surface and things like that. There's a lot of discussion out there. I went to a stormwater summit a week or two ago, and I have to say, one of the biggest issues that stormwater managers are facing is that unlike having a big system that serves the whole city, these things are often individual systems. Every single one of them has to be maintained for them to be effective. If they silt up, they don't work anymore.
And most people don't do the regular maintenance
Yeah,
required.
you
of these
put in,
systems.
yeah. So, and then the burden is on the city to make sure that the private parties, all of them, are maintaining their systems. That's a huge burden on the city.
Mhm.
We.
There are ways to combat that too. I mean, I've worked in some municipalities in Massachusetts where they require a third party report from a PE or a suitable engineer that you have maintained your system annually.
Yeah.
To get, business licenses or whatever,
Right.
But you're right. It's another layer that the city has to manage, and
Yeah.
that's never easy.
Yeah.
But it's good that it's moving forward.
So the design standards, if they become part of the process, then will they be part of the code?
They'll be part of the zoning ordinance. Yep. What we proposed is changes that would be incorporated into the zoning ordinance. And just like that last item, this would be forwarded to the council. We find a sponsor on the city council. You would have to have a public hearing prior to adoption.
Well, so they would become part of the standards, and then, I saw roll down window guards on there. So if that would be the case, then
Yeah.
they would be,
But that's currently part of the.
The roll down grates are currently standard, but these new standards about pressure treated lumber and so forth, these would be standards, and anybody coming in with a plan to inspection and standards applying for a permit, they're gonna have to comply with these new standards.
but would they become part of the minimum standard? Like, if person with that house that has the elevated porch
Yep.
had to try to bring it into compliance.
No, they wouldn't have to. They'd be legal but non-conforming, which is the case whenever we change the ordinance.
So how is that different from like impervious surface and fences in the front yard? And is that different?
No, it's the same. Fences in the front yard, that's part of zoning. impervious surface, that's part of zoning. Yeah, they're,
So they're non-compliant, but we asked them to come into compliance like the last person that was just here.
you can, as a condition of approval of something that you have discretion over, you can you can impose conditions on an approval. So, just let's not talk about a zoning change, because that's more advisory. That's the council with the actual authority here. But if there was a development project that came in front of you, or a request for a zoning variance as part of a subdivision or something like that, even though even though they may be asking simply to put a lot line in a particular place, and they're asking for relief from minimum lot size, if you look at the lot and you see that that there's something that's out of compliance, you could require them to bring it into compliance. But if it was legally established in the first place, and they're not asking for any permission to do anything from the city, that condition's allowed to continue.
I think the difference
It's an
from the
existing
last,
non-conformance.
the difference from the last agenda item is that was not brought into, that was not established as a legal use, right?
That's right. They're under violation. And
So
so,
it's not with a standard, it's actually with like the use type.
yeah,
But like taking the example of that house with the porch 12 feet up
Yeah.
in the air, if that changed from a single family and they went to the building department, pulled a building permit to make it a 2-family, I think they'd have to come into compliance.
yeah, they might.
It's where there's a change of use, change of occupancy, change, some sort of change, I think, is what would trigger it, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a 2-family though, right?
That is, well, or it might even be.
Or it's probably.
It's probably a 3 with an ADU. It's a 2 with an ADU.
But now it's legal, but
Except for sprinklers.
sure, right.
Yeah.
Maybe a 1 hour there.
Yeah. Okay, so
I
in any
kinda
event,
wish, like, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about members that have stepped down, but I do wish Dave Caldwell was here for this one.
he hasn't stepped down, he's only stepped aside.
He stepped aside for the moment, but,
We'll know in November.
that is the question he asks of every applicant, and I think he'd enjoy voting to put this forward to the city council.
Yeah. So in any event, we're asking for a positive recommendation to the city council, finding this consistent with the comprehensive plan as we discussed and with the purposes of zoning.
Again, not a public hearing per se, but, I don't see anyone in the physical room, anyone in the virtual room who would wish to speak on this matter at this point. And seeing none. We can vote on this now.
I'll make a motion that we forward it to the city council for approval.
Positive recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll go around and do a vote. Noel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Sid?
Right.
Nico?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Now, do we have to adjourn prior to singing happy birthday to Bob? or-
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Do we
adjourn.
have a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you very much. See you next month.